Her mother thought Victoria Harper wouldn't remember anything from when she was 4, but even now, she could recall how red, how cold the water was that night. It rarely snowed in Rosewood City, but that year, the snow was unusually heavy. Snowflakes, blown by the wind, stuck to the glass, frosting it over. Ever since then, Victoria Harper hated snow. Victoria Harper kept vigil over her mother in the bathroom, from night until day, and then from day until evening. The picture of her mother she had drawn in the condensation on the window pane slowly faded away. It wasn't until evening, when the housemaid returned from her time off, that she found the mother, dead in the bathtub for a day, and Victoria Harper curled up on the floor, burning with fever. When Victoria Harper woke up, her mother was gone. The house was full of people. Her father, older sister, and older brother had all returned. They didn't love her. Her brother and sister often called her mother a simp. She didn't know what simp meant, but she could sense it was something hurtful, because every time her mother heard the word, she became very sad. She was still wearing that red dress, stained with her mother's blood, which had dried stiff. An attendant tried to help her change, but she threw a tantrum and refused, wanting to wait for her mother to come back and change her clothes. The attendant told her, "Your mother is dead. She can't change her clothes anymore." But what did dead mean? I heard her mom slit her wrist in the bathtub. The kid was right there when she died. Wonder if it scared her senseless. I think that child, Victoria Harper, is cold-blooded. Her mom died right in front of her, and look, she's not even crying now. She's even wearing a red dress to the funeral, refused to change out of it. She stood helplessly amidst the crowd, the stares of the people around her feeling like a beast about to devour her. There was no escape. Her father locked her in a small room. It had only one window. She knelt on the floor. "Santa Claus, Victoria Harper doesn't want presents anymore. Can you please bring my mommy back to me? Is it because I was a greedy, bad girl that mommy doesn't want me anymore? I promise I'll change my bad habits. I'll eat all the food mommy makes for me, and I'll never make her angry again. If you can just let me see mommy, I'll do anything." Back then, she didn't know that Santa Claus wasn't a god, just a little old man. He didn't have the power to grant wishes, couldn't give a child back her mother. Santa Claus couldn't hear her wish, but her brother did. He asked if she wanted to see her mother. She nodded, clinging to his leg, begging him to take her to her mother. Then, her brother took her to the deserted Greenwood Memorial Park. He pushed her in front of a gravestone, grabbed her hair, and said, "This is your mother. Your mom is dead. Remember that wooden box from the day before yesterday? Your mom's in there." "No, my mommy wouldn't die. She wouldn't be in a box." She reached out to fight back, but her brother pinned her firmly to the ground with his foot. Her 15-year-old brother looked down at her, mocking her helplessness. "Your mom was a simp, and simps deserve to die horribly. Who told her to seduce my dad and steal my mom's husband? If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been motherless from birth. She ruined my family." She grabbed handfuls of mud, screaming with all her might, "My mom is not a simp." A younger sister seducing her own older sister's husband? That's even more disgusting than a simp. "Didn't you want to see your mother? She's right in here. You can stay here and keep her company forever." With that, he kicked the gravestone hard, his shoe print landing right on the photograph. Her brother abandoned Victoria Harper there. She couldn't find her way home. After wandering in circles, she ended up back where she started. Crying, she wiped the photograph on the gravestone clean. The stone was ice cold. No matter how long she pressed against it, she couldn't warm it. At 4, she only came up to her mother's thigh. Her favorite thing was to hug her mother's legs like a little bunny plush, stand on her feet, and let her mother drag her along as she walked. Back then, she always wondered when she would grow up, grow as tall as her mother. Later, her tall mother was put into a small box, then brought to this place and buried in a little hole in the ground. After her mother died, there was no one left at home who loved her. Her so-called relatives practically wished she would die out there. A 4-year-old child, abandoned in the middle of nowhere, couldn't possibly find her way home alone. Shivering uncontrollably from the cold, she could only huddle against the gravestone, curling up as if snuggling in her mother's arms for warmth. "Mommy, Victoria Harper is so cold. Please hold me, okay?" She coughed, her throat itchy and raw, feeling like it was full of razor blades. Victoria Harper's face was flushed red from crying. She missed her mother so much. She longed for her mother's hugs, her mother's kisses, wanted her mother to sing her to sleep. Dark, dark sky hangs low. Bright, bright stars follow. Insects fly, insects fly. Who are you missing tonight? Don't be afraid, Victoria Harper. Mommy's always here. She would never hear those words again. If 4-year-old Victoria Harper hadn't met a Grandma Miller then, She might have died in the freezing Greenwood Memorial Park, like the little match girl drifting towards death in a final, beautiful vision. Grandma Miller anxiously scooped her into her arms, her warm palm stroking Victoria's cheek. On such a cold day, what's a child doing here all alone? Child, where are your mommy and daddy? Daddy doesn't want me anymore. Mommy's dead. She heard Grandma Miller sigh. Do you know where you live? I'll take you home. When she couldn't get an answer, she had no choice but to call the police. Grandma Miller took off her own scarf and wrapped it around her. The long scarf circled around several times, covering her from her neck up to her head, wonderfully warm. That memory was hazy. She only remembered Grandma Miller popping a candy into her mouth. The sweetness spread from her mouth to her heart, one of the few delicacies she tasted in her childhood. At the Metropolitan Police Department, Grandma Miller gently distracted her, telling her about her own sweet little grandson who had a birthmark on the back of his neck. Before they parted, Grandma Miller gave her the scarf and bought her warm milk and a sweet bun. She patted Victoria's head, offering a blessing. Child, grow up healthy and strong. Back then, she hadn't even been as tall as the gravestone. Now, it only reached her thigh. Victoria Harper looked at her mother's picture on the stone and said with self-mockery, I really hated you back then. Hated you for bringing me into this world only to abandon me by dying right in front of me, for leaving me in that cold, cold house. Since you were going to die anyway, why didn't you take me with you? Victoria Harper picked up the pecan pie she had placed on the ground. It was delicious. She took large bites, wolfing down 50 pieces all at once, as if filling her stomach could stop her heart from feeling so empty. Who says people don't remember things from before they turn 5? She remembered all too clearly. Memories so painful that even now, recalling them made her flinch reflexively. She also remembered how, when she was little, her mother always let her eat the best food first. Now, she was letting her mother eat first, too, but the pecan pie remained untouched. Greenwood Memorial Park was quiet, the only sound the rustling of leaves. Golden ginkgo leaves drifted down with the wind. Victoria Harper watched the incense stick burn down to the end. The wind blew, cold against her face. She touched her cheek, staring at the dampness on her fingertips. The smoke stung her eyes. She had been crying. When someone dies, they become a corpse, then ashes, then a handful of dirt. A whole life lived just like that. From then on, separated by life and death, only visible in dreams. When she was little, her mother probably knew she hated her, so she never dared to enter her dreams. She really did hate her back then. She didn't even want to come to Greenwood Memorial Park to see her on Memorial Day. After her mother died, she stopped celebrating Christmas Eve, stopped celebrating Christmas altogether. She detested every winter, hated the snow, hated wearing red dresses. Her family bullied her, calling her the mistress's daughter. Kids at school chased her, calling her names, saying she was trash like her mother, always trying to seduce boys. The men around her would always eye her with disgusting looks. Before she could stand on her own, she went through incredibly hard times. Benjamin Harper ignored her completely. Her half-sister and half-brother treated her with cold indifference, occasionally humiliating her. The housemaid, seeing no one cared for her, called her a wild child behind her back, often letting her go hungry, refusing to cook for her. When she was 5 or 6 years old, she even scavenged through trash cans. Other children started school at 6, but she didn't go until she was 7. Once at school, she discovered that while there were many bad people, not everyone was bad. For instance, her teacher was very kind to her, noticed her clothes were too small, and took her shopping, ate lunch with her, and bought her bread to eat in the evening. No matter how hard life got, she would endure. As long as you're alive, there's always tomorrow. Later, she learned the secrets of Harper Enterprises, learned about the humiliation and suffering her mother endured there, and why she chose to take her own life. She hated everyone at Harper Enterprises, especially her nominal father. No, he couldn't be called a father. He was the rapist who hurt her mother. Victoria Harper stroked the photo on the headstone. If you were still alive, I would help you kill them. Seeing them suffer, worse than death, would surely make you happy. Mom, do you regret now? Regret dying so early, not seeing them get what they deserved. Just wait a little longer. Harper Enterprises is about to collapse, change hands. They're dying off one by one. Only Victor Harper is left. Soon, I'll make Victor Harper come apologize to you. Victoria Harper let out a soft breath, stood up, smoothed her dress, and lifted the hem with one hand. Mom, after all these years, I still love red dresses. There's nothing wrong with red dresses. The ones who are wrong are those people. But she still hated cold, snowy days, just as she could never forget finding her mother dead in the cold water on Christmas Eve. When she was 4, she met Ethan's grandmother here. It was she who took her to the Metropolitan Police Department. She had tried to find her over the years, but too much time had passed, the memories had faded, and she had too little information. The only thing she remembered was the little grandson the old lady mentioned, the one with a distinct birthmark on his neck. Later, she happened to see that birthmark on the back of Ethan's neck. She looked into his relatives and finally found his grandmother. It turned out their connection had been forged long ago. Of course, that wasn't the only reason she liked Ethan. There was a much closer connection. "Mom, I'll bring him to meet you. He's wonderful, the person I cherish most." Only after all the paper offerings she'd brought had burned completely to ash did Victoria Harper pack up to leave. She walked away, stepping on the golden leaves. After a few steps, she looked back at the photo on the headstone. Her mother was smiling at her, seemingly saying, "Victoria Harper, you must find happiness." Ethan hadn't seen Aunt Grace in 5 years. If you counted his past life, it had been over 30 years. The memories were hazy. Back when Grace Parker was an actress and her address was leaked to TMZ, Aunt Grace moved. She wasn't comfortable in the big city, so she moved out near Maplewood Township. The small eatery had closed long ago. She didn't have the stamina for it anymore due to her poor health, and besides, Grace Parker was earning enough to support her well. It was supposed to be a 40-minute drive, but it actually took over an hour. Luckily, Victoria Harper had given him some chocolate. When he arrived, the sight of the lane brought a wave of familiarity. Grace Parker, wearing a mask and a white dress, stood by the roadside waving at him. On the way here, he'd seen few young people. Old men walked their birds. Old women walked their dogs, stopping to chat when they met. People were doing morning exercises in the small square. Others passed by with groceries. The atmosphere was very similar to where he used to live. Ethan parked the car and got out, carrying gifts. "Have you had breakfast yet?" "Not yet. Didn't you say Aunt Grace was making breakfast and waiting for me? That's why I rushed over. Speaking of which, it's been so long since I've eaten her cooking." Back then, to give Grace Parker a better life, Aunt Grace not only ran a night stall, but also made breakfast. Her griddle cakes, fried dough sticks, and congee were all delicious. Ethan's favorites were her oatmeal with bacon bits and her pierogi. Seeing the nostalgic look on Ethan's face warmed Grace Parker's heart. "My mom started preparing yesterday. Knowing you were coming, she made lots of dumplings. This morning she made oatmeal with bacon bits and even butchered a chicken to make chicken noodle soup for lunch. She remembered your favorite dishes and bought a lot of groceries yesterday." Seeing the several gift bags in Ethan's hands, Grace Parker asked, "Are these all for my mom?" "Yeah, it's Thanksgiving, right? I bought a pecan pie, some nutritional supplements, and since it's crab season, I got a few large crabs we could steam for lunch. Let me carry a couple of those. They're not heavy." Grace Parker insisted on taking something, practically snatching them from his hands, so he gave her the 2 lightest bags. They arrived at the Parker residence. The Victorian house was lovely, with all sorts of vegetables growing in the yard, along with 2 chickens and a duck. There were originally 3 chickens, but Mom butchered one this morning, Grace Parker told Ethan, then called towards the house. "Mom, Ethan's here." "Ethan's here? Quick, have him come in." The voice came before the person appeared. Ethan entered the house and saw Aunt Grace coming towards him, a woman in her 40s, overlapping with his memories. Her spirit seemed good, but she was very thin. Ethan had heard from Grace Parker that her mother had been hospitalized recently. In his memory, Aunt Grace's health had always been frail, especially when he and Grace Parker were in high school. "Aunt Grace, happy Thanksgiving. It's been so long. Look how tall and handsome you become." Aunt Grace looked Ethan over gently. "You shouldn't have brought gifts. Just coming is enough. We have everything here. We don't lack anything. Coming here is like coming home. No need to be so formal. Quick, come eat breakfast. I made it early. Your favorite, oatmeal with bacon bits. It's cooled down just right, waiting for you." Because she was an aunt he'd known since childhood, even after so many years, Ethan didn't feel distant. Coupled with her warm welcome, being here felt just like being back at Grandma Miller's house. Ethan was guided to the dining table and sat down. Placed before him were a bowl of oatmeal sprinkled with bacon bits, a platter piled high with 50 pierogi, and a towering stack of pancakes. Looked like 10 of them, each one the size of a dinner plate. There was also a dish of Aunt Grace's homemade pickled radishes, tossed in chili oil, crisp and refreshing. "Eat up. It won't taste as good when it's cold," Aunt Grace urged, assuming his appetite was still like it was back in high school, when he could wolf down 40 or 50 dumplings in one sitting. Under her expectant gaze, Ethan managed a bowl of oatmeal, 10 pierogi, and 1 large pancake before setting down his utensils. "Why are you eating so little? Has my cooking gotten worse? Ethan quickly reassured her. No, not at all. I'm just not very hungry. I grabbed something on the way. I wish I could eat everything on this table, but eating too much isn't good for you. That's true. Eat in moderation. We have a big feast for lunch anyway. After breakfast, Aunt Grace shooed Ethan out of the kitchen, telling him to watch TV. Unable to sit still, Ethan decided to help her instead, washing vegetables and peeling garlic. Having not seen each other for years, they couldn't help but reminisce. Aunt Grace recounted many funny stories about Ethan and Grace's childhood. It's been so many years. Ethan, you've gotten more handsome and much more mature. I watched that reality show you were on. You did wonderfully, pitching in with everything. Everyone I know who watched it really likes you. Time flies. You're all grown up now, at the age to start a family. Ethan, is there anyone special in your life right now? The topic shifted so abruptly that Ethan didn't know how to react for a moment. He mused silently. Do all aunts this age obsess over young people's love lives? Pushing you to date if you're single, pushing you to marry if you're dating, pushing for kids after marriage, and then pushing for a second child. Thankfully, Grace appeared just in time, interrupting, Mom, the water's boiling. Hearing this, Aunt Grace hurried off to the kitchen. My mom's been rather fixated on my love life these past few years, Grace said quietly. It's ironic. Her own marriage wasn't happy, yet she's pushing me to get married. Ethan watched Grace crouch down to wash vegetables. Her voice held a trace of weary sadness. She's just concerned about you, he offered comfortingly. Grace tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. I know, but her concern is one-sided. She never considers things from my perspective. She doesn't understand me at all. Every family has its own problems. It wasn't Ethan's place to comment. He changed the subject. How has Aunt Grace's health been these years? Honestly, not great. She's in and out of the hospital often. She just got back from the Mayo Clinic a couple of days ago. Her health suffered from years of hard work. Grace Parker's mother had come from a tough background, working herself to the bone when she was young, and the health problems surfaced as she aged. When Grace Parker was a senior in high school, her mother got sick and had surgery to remove a kidney. One kidney was enough to live, but it wasn't the same as having two. Her overall health declined significantly, and with age, her resistance weakened. Grace Parker shifted the focus. Enough about me. How about you lately? That video online. Are you sure you don't need to do something about it? Ethan remained unfazed, stating calmly, Don't worry about it. It's better if it blows up. How big do you want this to get? Best if the buzz lasts about a month. Ethan didn't need to worry about maintaining the hype. William, Benjamin Harper, and the others were even more eager than him to keep it going, hoping to use the online hate to destroy him. Ethan stood up. I'll go check on the kitchen. Aunt Grace was preparing an extravagant lunch. Chicken, duck, fish, beef, even steamed hairy crabs. Aunt Grace, that's way too much food. We'll never finish it. If you can't finish it, just stay a few more days. Annie will cook for you every day. We have extra rooms. I can't do that. I have to head back tonight. Aunt Grace paused, surprised. Tonight? You're not staying for dinner? No. Someone's waiting for me back home for Thanksgiving. Grace entered the kitchen just in time to hear Ethan's words. Setting down the vegetables she had washed, she tactfully left the kitchen. Aunt Grace, let me cook, you go rest. Ethan put on an apron and took the wok from her hands. You're a guest. How can we let you cook? Aunt Grace, when I first arrived, you told me to treat this place like home. Why are you treating me like a guest now? I used to eat your cooking all the time. Now that I know how to cook, I want you to try my food. Please, let me do it. Ethan gently nudged her aside as he spoke. Aunt Grace couldn't stop smiling at his teasing, looking at him with deep affection. All right. You can cook these few dishes then. I'll help you out. Ethan skillfully stir-fried the ingredients. Judging by the color and aroma, it was bound to be delicious. You know, Aunt Grace began, the one I worry about most is Grace Parker. She doesn't take care of herself, doesn't know how to cook. Seeing you two on the show together made me so happy. You two were always the closest. With you around, I feel more at ease about her. She sighed as she mentioned Grace Parker. Ethan didn't reply, unsure of what to say. Aunt Grace continued, My health isn't what it used to be. I don't know how much longer I have. Ethan, can you promise Annie something? If I'm not around anymore, will you take good care of Grace Parker? Meeting her hopeful gaze, Ethan was momentarily speechless. He suddenly recalled the words Victoria Harper had whispered when she snuck into his tent that night. Auntie, you'll definitely live a long and healthy life, Ethan said, deflecting. You'll see Grace Parker thrive. She's incredibly capable now. She doesn't need anyone to take care of her. Ethan thought back to his past life. After breaking up with Grace Parker, he had deliberately avoided news about her. But as a major award-winning actress, Her presence was unavoidable. Billboards, product endorsements, trending on Twitter during red carpets, movie promotions. She became a massive star, sweeping domestic awards before breaking into the international scene, becoming one of the most influential actresses globally, with over 50 million followers worldwide. Grace Parker not only built her career, but also maintained her family life well, taking her mom traveling abroad. Photos and videos of the mother-daughter duo often surfaced online back home. Aunt Grace took Ethan's words as mere comfort. She smiled wryly. She might not need looking after when she's young, but what about when she's older? She's a woman. She needs to build a family, have children. My biggest regret in life was my poor judgment back then, not finding a good man. The luckiest thing that ever happened to me was having Grace Parker. Ethan couldn't help but frown at her words. How can you guarantee any man will always be good? I can't guarantee others, Aunt Grace said, but you're different, Ethan. I watch you grow up. People change, Annie. You shouldn't pin your hopes on others. Ethan, are you still angry at Grace Parker for breaking up with you? Mentioning this, she became flustered and quickly explained, I was the one who advised her to break up with you back then, and about your grandmother's death. I was the one who kept it from Grace Parker all these years. Even though she never says anything, I can feel her pain. I watch your Twitch streams from the show every day. Grace Parker is truly happy when she's with you. Her eyes are only for you. She's never forgotten you. Please don't blame her anymore, okay? I don't blame her. Before Ethan could even finish, Aunt Grace rushed to say, It's good you don't blame her. Look, right after you broke off your engagement, you ran into Grace on the production crew. It must be fate. And this is a dating show. You don't have anyone you like right now. And Grace is your childhood sweetheart. You grew up together, know each other inside and out. You even dated before. Even though you've been apart for so many years, Grace is always like you. If you two could get married and start a family, I could finally rest easy. It would make up for past regrets too. She grew more agitated as she spoke, her gaze fixed on Ethan, filled with pleading and expectation. A mother would do anything for her daughter's happiness. Aunt Grace, Grace Parker and I are friends. I can help her out as a friend, but only if she needs it. Have you even asked her if she needs help? Ethan's question stopped her short. He continued, When you pressure her to get married, try to entrust her care to some man, you're disrespecting her. You're ignoring all her hard work over the years. She went to Hollywood all alone, and now she's famous nationwide. She's confident, strong, more capable than most men. You shouldn't try to limit her to domestic life, marriage, and children. That's not her. She's destined for the world stage, the very top. Think about it. She's done perfectly fine all these years without me, hasn't she? That might be true, but Grace Parker loved Ethan. People are always greedy. Even when happy, they wish for a little more perfection in life. A successful career paired with a happy family. That's the definition of winning at life. A mother always wants the best for her child, hoping someone will be there to accompany her and take care of her when she's sick or facing difficulties. Someone like Ethan was perfect. He could cook, do housework. He was caring, gentle, understanding, and had no bad habits. Crucially, Grace Parker liked him. Grace Parker couldn't be an actress forever. One day, she'd return to a normal life, get married, start a family. Loving someone is like tending a flower. The right partner is crucial. Finding the right person meant growing old together, someone who would be in her life even longer than her parents. Since Grace Parker was an actress, she needed a partner like Ethan who could understand her lifestyle. Ethan saw from her expression that she was lost in her own thoughts. In situations like this, it was best to cut things short cleanly. Ethan made a swift decision. Aunt Grace, I already have someone I like. For her sake, I won't divide my attention. I only want to take care of her wholeheartedly and be good to her alone. Aunt Grace's expression cracked. You have someone you like? Who? You're not just making up an excuse to refuse me, are you? Ethan replied, I don't need an excuse to refuse. I'm telling you this simply because I wanted to share. Aunt Grace didn't believe him, pressing further. Then tell me, who is this person you like? Ethan stated it plainly. Victoria Harper. The Victoria Harper who's on the show with me. Since you've watched the show, you must know who she is. Of course, she knew. There had been 2 dates on the show so far. The first was Ethan with Victoria Harper, the second with Grace Parker. The difference was stark. Even as a viewer, she could sense how special Victoria was to Ethan, let alone Grace Parker. She fired off 3 questions in succession. Do you even know her? Are you two suitable for each other? And she's your ex-fiancé's aunt. Aren't you worried about gossip? Life is about how you feel, not about what anyone else thinks. As long as I'm happy, that's what matters. Life is long. I'll take my time getting to know her. Ethan deliberately added, "Aunt Grace, I only came here today after getting Victoria Harper's okay." Grace Parker knows this too. When he mentioned Victoria Harper, a tenderness he himself wasn't aware of softened his features. Shock flickered in Aunt Grace's eyes. She clearly hadn't expected this outcome. Ethan held Victoria Harper in very high regard. Her place in his heart was secure, leaving no room for outside interference. Pushing further would be disrespectful. Failing to secure this chance for Grace Parker filled her with regret, and her eyes stung with unshed tears. While they had been talking, Ethan's hands hadn't been idle. He'd already put the fish in the pot. Once the water boiled, steam billowed out, spicy boiled fish. He'd used a lot of chilies, making the air pungent. Ethan glanced sideways, casually, and saw Aunt Grace's eyes were red-rimmed. Ethan paused for a moment. He had his principles. Seeing her upset wouldn't make him soften and agree to anything. "Aunt Grace, it's smoky in the kitchen. Why don't you go rest outside?" "Okay." This time, she didn't refuse. The kitchen door closed, and Grace Parker's voice could be heard outside. He couldn't make out what she was saying, nor did he try to. Cooking the various dishes took over an hour. Ethan wiped down the counter as he went, keeping the workspace neat and clean. The last dish was stir-fried tender beef. Just as he finished plating it, Grace Parker opened the kitchen door and came in. "I came to get the bowls." Ethan stepped aside, watching Grace Parker bend down, open a cabinet, and take out 3 bowls. He glanced at her face. She didn't look happy, her lips pressed tightly together. Clearly, she was sulking. Grace Parker started washing the bowls. "Don't take what my mom said to heart. I got over it a long time ago." "I didn't take it to heart." "Good. I was just worried that because of her, we couldn't even be friends anymore. Also, thank you for what you said to my mom. You were right. I don't need anyone to take care of me. I'm strong on my own. Even without you, my future will be even better." As she said this, Grace Parker's expression softened, and the corners of her lips lifted into a smile. She carried the washed bowls and chopsticks out. "Wash your hands and come eat. Finish quickly so you can get back sooner. Victoria Harper is waiting for you." The moment she turned away, Grace Parker's eyelashes trembled, and a stinging sensation filled her nose. At the dinner table, it was as if nothing had happened. Aunt Grace ladled soup for Ethan, carefully glancing at Grace Parker. The harmony was only surface deep. The food was delicious, but the meal felt awkward. Ethan didn't eat much before feeling full. "Ethan, why are you eating so little? Won't you have some more? This fish is your favorite." "I'm full. I can't eat anymore." "Then at least have some more soup. This is black-bone chicken I raised myself, very nutritious." Grace Parker abruptly put down her chopsticks. "Mom, didn't you hear Ethan say he's full? Why are you pushing him to have soup? He has a sensitive stomach. Eating too much makes him uncomfortable." Aunt Grace mumbled awkwardly, "I didn't know." Ethan quickly tried to smooth things over. "My stomach's actually much better now, it's fine." After the meal, Grace Parker gathered the dishes to wash them, stopping Ethan when he tried to help. Left with nothing to do, Ethan decided to walk around outside, finding something to occupy himself. Perhaps his earlier words had been a bit harsh. Aunt Grace didn't seek him out again. She had likely accepted the reality that there was no chance for him and Grace Parker anymore. Ethan pulled out his phone and scrolled through it. A few texts, but none from Victoria. She hadn't called either. What was Victoria doing now? Had she eaten? What did she eat? When would she be home? What was she wearing when she left? Ethan took 2 pieces of gum from his pocket and popped them into his mouth. A strong blueberry flavor filled his senses. Dark clouds were gathering on the horizon. It looked like rain. Ethan took out his phone again and sent Victoria a text. "Did you bring an umbrella? Looks like it's going to rain." After sending it, Ethan waited anxiously for a reply. 30 minutes passed with nothing. He started to feel uneasy, a knot of panic tightening in his chest. Decisively, Ethan called Victoria. No answer. Grace Parker came out from inside. Seeing Ethan pacing the yard with his phone, she felt a jolt of déjà vu, as if thrown back 5 years. Are those who dwell on the past always unhappy with the present? In the years since they drifted apart, Grace Parker often dreamed of Ethan, dreamed of them fooling around in the small courtyard, setting off fireworks on Thanksgiving, putting up holiday decorations together, watching the adults prepare festive meals with chickens and ducks. Before she turned 18, Grace Parker had never imagined a day when she and Ethan would grow distant. For years, they had celebrated every birthday together. She had wished upon her candles for him, hoping they could be together every year for a long, long time, safe and happy. Old friends, like courtyard trees, grow distant with each passing autumn breeze. He remained an indelible mark on her youth, someone she could give up on, but never forget. "Ethan, The breeze rustled her skirt, and Grace Parker pressed it down, her gaze falling on his phone. "Are you waiting for Victoria's call?" "Yeah," he murmured. "I just called her, but she didn't pick up." He was worried something might have happened to her. Watching the man she loved worry about another woman right in front of her sent a pang through her heart, like a crack splitting open, bitterness seeping out relentlessly. She forced a smile. "She's probably fine." Ethan kept his head down, still fiddling with his phone. "She usually texts me back right away," he muttered. "Maybe she hasn't checked her phone," Grace suggested. Around this time, she might still be eating or taking an afternoon nap. That was plausible. Victoria was lazy at home, often curling up on the sofa right after lunch and falling asleep quickly. She slept curled up, her hands balled into fists, sometimes tucked under her cheek, sometimes pressed against her chest. They said people who slept curled up like that lacked a sense of security. "Are you thinking of heading back?" Grace Parker asked, trying to appear calm, but secretly hoping, just for this moment, she could be more important than Victoria, that Ethan would stay for her. Ethan glanced towards the house. "Aunt Grace." The fragile hope shattered. Grace Parker forced another smile. "I'll handle my mom. She definitely won't want you to leave after finally seeing you. She'll find any excuse to keep you here longer." She knew her mother well. Grace Parker turned back towards the house. "Mom, Ethan and I are going for a walk." "Okay, you two go ahead," Aunt Grace called out. "Young people should get out more. Don't go too far. Come back for watermelon later." Aunt Grace hadn't given up, constantly trying to create opportunities for them. "You have plenty of time this afternoon. You could drive back to our old school. It's not far, maybe 40 to 50 minutes. Revisiting old haunts was the easiest way to stir up fond memories. Grace Parker had intended to just slip away, let Ethan leave quietly once they were outside. "Let's go," she said. Ethan took a few steps, but even without looking back, he could feel the weight of eyes on him. Ethan stopped abruptly and turned around. He saw Aunt Grace standing in the doorway, watching him leave. When she saw him turn back, she waved and smiled. He remembered how, back when he was in school, his own grandmother used to stand just like that in the doorway, watching him go with longing eyes every time he left home. Ethan walked back. "Aunt Grace, I really should head back now. I'll skip the watermelon, but I'll definitely come visit again when I have time." "Leaving so soon? You drove here anyway. Why not stay for dinner? We can eat early, say 5 o'clock. I'll make you corn dogs. The last time you had my corn dogs was back in senior year, wasn't it?" Despite her earnest attempts to keep him, Ethan shook his head firmly. "No, really," he said sincerely. "I need to go back, buy groceries, and spend Thanksgiving with Victoria." He knew what she was hoping for, so being direct was the kindest approach. He couldn't give her false hope, or let her think there was still a chance for him and Grace Parker. Indecisiveness would be irresponsible. Aunt Grace wanted to persuade Ethan further, but the words caught in her throat as if stuffed with cotton. She looked towards Grace Parker, but Grace avoided her gaze. Finally, she had to relent. "All right then, drive safe on your way back. Come visit again when you have time." "Okay, Aunt Grace. I'll get going then. Take care of yourself." The next time felt genuinely uncertain. After saying goodbye to Aunt Grace, Ethan felt lighter as he walked away. Since Aunt Grace couldn't convince him to stay for dinner, she insisted on packing food for him, the uncooked chicken and duck from the fridge, plus some vegetables she had grown herself. The items weren't valuable, but the sentiment was priceless. Ethan accepted them. After watching Ethan drive away, Aunt Grace turned to Grace Parker with a helpless sigh. "Why didn't you try harder to make him stay? He rarely comes to visit." Grace Parker replied wearily, "Mom, please don't meddle in things between him and me anymore." Aunt Grace grew anxious. "If I don't meddle, you'll be the one regretting it. Mistakes can be corrected, but if you miss an opportunity, you might truly never get another chance." Grace Parker's eyes reddened, tears welling up against her will. "We missed our chance long ago. Some mistakes don't deserve forgiveness. You can revisit old places, reminisce about old times, but can you truly love an old flame anew? What else besides time can never be reclaimed?" Ethan drove off. Midway, he sent another text to Victoria, telling her he was on his way back. "What do you want for dinner tonight? I'll pick it up." 10 minutes later, Victoria finally replied with 2 short voice messages. "Back already? Weren't you going to spend more time with your aunt? Let's go to the supermarket together. Just come back first, we can change." Her voice was hoarse, as if she had been crying, or perhaps had just woken up. Ethan pressed down on the accelerator, picking up speed. The journey, usually over an hour, took him less than 50 minutes. Standing in the hallway, Ethan looked at the 2 doors in front of him. He took out his keys and opened his own door, betting Victoria would be inside his apartment. Sure enough, as the door swung open, he saw Victoria. She was in the kitchen, wearing an apron. Hearing the door open, she turned her head. "Oh, you're back so soon?" An old, classic line suddenly popped into Ethan's mind. Who comes from mountains and seas, yet finds themselves bound by day and night, kitchen and love. A warmth spread from his chest, slowly soothing every part of him. Victoria Harper skipped over happily, placed his slippers by his feet, and then took the bags from his hands. Looking at the vegetables in the bags, Victoria Harper asked, "That's a lot of vegetables. Did you swing by a farmer's market?" "No," Ethan explained. "Grace Parker's mom gave them to me. She grew them herself." Victoria Harper carried the vegetables back to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and put them away. Ethan walked into the kitchen and glanced at the steaming pot on the stove. "What are you making?" "I'm making iced tea." Victoria Harper turned on the light. "Notice anything different?" Ethan had already noticed when he came in. "It's cleaner." Victoria Harper put her hands on her hips and tilted her chin up proudly. "I cleaned the whole place." Impressive, right? His place wasn't large, but cleaning the whole thing still would have taken quite some time. He'd gone out for a bit, and now the place was clean and tidy. A few new potted plants decorated the shelves, a faint, fresh scent lingered in the air, the handcrafted dolls they'd made on their first date sat on the TV stand, and the bunny Ethan had given her was also on the sofa. His life was being subtly transformed by Victoria Harper. Her presence, her traces were everywhere. Ethan resisted the urge to pat her head and said with a smile, "Very impressive. Just like Cinderella." Victoria Harper huffed. "Cinderella only shows up when you're not around." "I'm always here." Ethan asked, "Didn't you go out to meet someone this morning? How did you have time to clean for me?" "I came back around noon." "What did you have for lunch at Grace Parker's house?" Ethan took out his phone to show her the photos. Victoria Harper leaned in, tut-tooting, her tone clearly tinged with jealousy. "Wow, you ate really well. You haven't seen them in so many years. Why didn't you spend more time with them? You must have had a lot to talk about." "Let me guess. Did her mom talk a lot about your past with Grace Parker? Did she push you to start dating? Get married?" Her guess was spot on. Ethan was momentarily speechless. "She did mention a couple of things. Aunt Grace even wanted me to stay for dinner, but I turned her down. I said I had to get back home to spend Thanksgiving with someone. She asked who this someone was. I told her it was Victoria Harper." Victoria Harper asked in surprise, "You mentioned me to her?" Ethan replied, shifting his gaze uncomfortably under Victoria Harper's intense stare. Victoria Harper beamed. "What did you say about me?" Ethan kept it brief. "That you're great. Really great." An unconscious intimacy crept into his words. Their relationship was now just waiting for that final confession. Filming hadn't wrapped up yet. In the contract Ethan had signed, one clause had been specifically highlighted. During the show's recording, even if participants developed mutual feelings, they couldn't make it official or date behind the production crew's back. Confessions could only happen in the finale. Violating this rule meant paying a tenfold penalty fee. Ethan hadn't thought much of this rule when he first saw it, but now it felt like the clause was aimed specifically at someone. Ethan respected contracts and rules. He could wait a month. Besides, he wanted to sort out his own affairs first, to become stronger so he wouldn't be a burden, strong enough to at least protect Victoria Harper. Financially, he still had a long way to go, but that wouldn't always be the case. Ethan's sudden directness actually made Victoria Harper blush. The iced tea was ready. It just needed to cool down. "Let's go to the supermarket," she said. "I need to buy some things. I'll go change." Victoria Harper had brought her clothes over to Ethan's place. Luckily, the apartment had 2 bedrooms, so it wouldn't be a problem even if she stayed the night. A few moments later, Victoria Harper emerged, having changed into a beautiful, long red dress. Red is a bright, eye-catching color that few people can pull off, but Victoria Harper seemed to really like red dresses, and she looked good in them like a red rose. She twirled in front of him, her skirt flaring out like a flower. "How do I look?" Ethan praised her boldly and directly. "Beautiful. You look stunning in red dresses. I only wear red dresses for important occasions." Hearing this, Ethan thought back. He realized that in his past life, whenever he saw Victoria Harper, she was almost always wearing a red dress. He'd assumed her wardrobe consisted entirely of red dresses. In this life, just looking at the recent past, the first day of filming, their first date, her birthday night, and now today, he had thought she simply favored red dresses. But perhaps it was him she favored when she wore red. Victoria Harper threw on a coat, and they both put on hats and masks, making sure they wouldn't be recognized before heading out. Ethan pushed the shopping cart while Victoria Harper walked happily beside him, browsing and tossing whatever caught her eye into the cart. The two, who hadn't been grocery shopping together in a while, ended up buying quite a lot. As they passed the Babies R Us, Ethan glanced inside and saw a young couple browsing. The woman was heavily pregnant, and the man beside her had his arm around her waist. They looked very much in love. Just then, The man lowered his head to sneeze, and his face mask slipped down. Ethan had thought the man looked vaguely familiar from the start, so he couldn't help looking a second longer, just in time to see the mask slip. It was only for a second or two, but Ethan recognized him instantly. It was William. The moment the mask fell, William was clearly flustered. He glanced around frantically. Luckily, the Babies R Us was empty. William breathed a sigh of relief and quickly led the pregnant woman away. Ethan stopped walking, his grip tightening on a shopping cart handle. William, shopping at Babies R Us with a pregnant woman. Judging by their body language, they weren't just friends. They looked like an affectionate couple. How interesting. After all, this was something he hadn't even known about in his previous life. Ethan pulled out his phone, found a contact for Private Investigator Murphy, whom he'd contacted before, and immediately instructed him to investigate William. He wanted to see what else he didn't know. In his past life, for so many years, William had maintained a single status. He hadn't married, hadn't dated, and there had certainly been no rumors of children. He'd cultivated the image of someone deeply in love with Amelia Harper, utterly devoted, unwilling to marry anyone else. This devoted lover persona had caused Ethan no small amount of trouble. In his past life, Ethan had been constantly attacked online by shipper fans of William and Amelia. The worst incident involved an obsessive William fan trying to stab Ethan with a knife. He had been with Amelia Harper at the time, and the fruit knife went straight through his palm. The fan faced consequences, but William faced no repercussions whatsoever. Thinking about these painful memories left a bitter taste in Ethan's mouth. Ethan tried hard to recall the pregnant woman's face. He hadn't seen her in his previous life. As for a child, he'd heard nothing in 30 years. It seemed his rebirth had subtly changed many things. Ethan suddenly had an uneasy feeling. The mention of a child reminded him of his adopted son, Daniel. Calculating the age, they would be about the same. Ethan's heart sank, and his expression darkened. "What are you looking at?" Victoria Harper patted the back of his hand. Ethan snapped back to reality, averting his gaze. Nothing. Raising an ungrateful bastard was disgusting enough. The thought that this bastard might very well be William Hayes' spawn. It was as nauseating as eating shit. Anger churned in his stomach, threatening to rise. Victoria Harper noticed Ethan's dark expression and followed his earlier gaze, but saw nothing. They bought some ingredients for a hot pot, deciding to spend the evening on the balcony, eating and moon-gazing. A little wine, finished off with pecan pie, would round out their Thanksgiving day. While Victoria Harper rested, Ethan simmered soup in the kitchen. Together, they washed the ingredients, set up the table on the balcony, and lit mosquito-repelling incense. The weather god smiled on them. The sky, which had threatened rain, cleared up completely in the evening, and the moon peeked out from behind dispersed clouds. Crabs steamed in a pot. Ethan expertly snipped off the legs with shears, picked out the meat, and placed it on a plate for Victoria Harper. After eating and drinking, both were slightly tipsy. Victoria Harper's cheeks were flushed, her eyes misty. She swirled the wine in her glass, her voice husky. "I want to see my mother today." Ethan froze, listening as Victoria continued. "Do you know about my mother? She killed herself in the bathtub when she was just a couple of years younger than I am now. It was Christmas Eve. I was wearing a red princess dress. I could never understand. It's supposed to be a day for praying for peace. Why did she choose that night to die? In those years when I was most helpless, I truly hated her. But I couldn't stop missing her. Everyone wants to live. Who really wants to die? She was driven to it. If I'd been older then, more understanding. If I had realized she was sick, coaxed her to see a doctor, take her medicine. If I had loved her with all my might, maybe she wouldn't have killed herself. I hate the people at Harper Enterprises so much. I hate Edward Harper. I hate Victor. I hate Emily Harper. I hate Victoria Harper." Victoria blurted out 4 names. Edward Harper was Victoria's father, dead 3 years now. Victor and Emily Harper were her older half-siblings. The other Victoria Harper she hated, the one she should have called Aunt Grace, was Edward Harper's first wife and also the biological sister of Victoria's own mother, Victoria Harper. Back then, the affair between the sister-in-law, Victoria's mother, and her brother-in-law, Edward Harper, within Harper Enterprises had caused an ugly scandal. With time, and with most of the involved parties now dead, nobody brought it up anymore. Ethan only knew any of this because Amelia Harper had mentioned it casually once. And that was precisely why Amelia Harper had always looked down on Victoria. Victoria Harper rarely lost control like this. Perhaps the alcohol had dredged up her painful past. She looked incredibly vulnerable now. She wasn't crying, but her eyes were red-rimmed as she gazed at Ethan. Victoria knew her mother had loved her, that she hadn't wanted to leave her behind. But she was sick, unable even to save herself. While alive, she had strived to give Victoria the best of everything. Even if she was coughing up blood, in so much pain she couldn't sleep all night, she'd pretend nothing was wrong come morning, facing Victoria with the brightest possible facade. Her disguise was too good. No one realized she was already terminally ill. She made Victoria all kinds of delicious food, helped her build good habits. At 4 years old, Victoria could dress herself, bathe, wash her own socks, help her mom with chores. If hungry, she'd mix her own milk powder and drink it, never fussing or crying. She learned the songs her mother sang to her. After her mother died, she was afraid of the dark, so she'd sing those songs to lull herself to sleep. Her mother prepared birthday gifts for her every year, right up until she turned 18. On her 18th birthday, she received an investment portfolio her mother had set up for her, worth nearly $5 million. Victoria used that money to start her business, though even before that, she'd already made a fortune mining Bitcoin. What caused her mother's death? Years of curses and condemnation, the betrayal of her own sister, the constant torment from her abusers, the indifference of bystanders, and Victoria herself, the burden. So, once she had the power, the first thing Victoria did was drive Edward Harper to his deathbed. She ensured he ended up paralyzed and helpless, arranging for caregivers to secretly feed him feces, letting him rot away, stinking inside and out. As for Amelia Harper's mother, Emily Harper, she died before Victoria could make a move, entirely her own doing. Her mother had been so kind and gentle, working hard to raise Emily Harper, treating her so well. Emily showed no gratitude, even spat on her mother's grave at Greenwood Memorial Park, calling her a simp and a whore. Then, after getting married, Emily herself had an affair with a driver, no less, and ended up dying in a car crash with him. How utterly laughable. Of the Harper Enterprises crowd, only Victor was left. What Victor cared about most was money and status. She would make him watch slowly as the fortune in his hands slipped away like sand through his fingers. Ethan's heart ached for her. He had no idea just how many dark, ruthless thoughts filled her mind right then, obsessed with revenge, contemplating murder. To her, Ethan was like the bright moon in the sky. He had never belonged to her, yet he had illuminated her world. The Thanksgiving moon truly was brighter than usual, but in Victoria Harper's eyes, it couldn't outshine Ethan. Ethan didn't have to do anything. Just sitting there, he shone, a bright light in her eyes. Victoria Harper was truly drunk now, her head spinning, tears spilling vulnerably from her eyes. I miss my mom. I miss her mango milfy, apple crumble pecan pie, the turkey dinner she used to make, cranberry mochi. She watched as his hand reached for her. She grabbed it, guiding it to pat her head, clinging to the warmth of his palm like a child, finally nuzzling her cheek against it. Victoria's face felt hotter than usual, soft to the touch. Ethan took the opportunity to gently wipe away her tears. Whatever you want to eat in the future, I'll make it for you. Will you always stay with me? I won't leave. I'll always be here. Victoria shifted closer, leaning against his chest, listening to his heartbeat as her emotions gradually calmed. The moon is so full tonight. I hope we can spend every Thanksgiving together. Here's to a full and happy future for us. Seeing the tear tracks at the corners of Victoria's eyes, Ethan's heart still clenched painfully, a tight ache spreading through his chest. The woman in his arms gradually quieted, her eyes closed, silent, seemingly asleep. Ethan stood, lifted her carefully into his arms, carried her into the bedroom, and gently laid her on the bed. Just as he was about to pull his hand away, Victoria suddenly grabbed it. Don't be fooled by her drunken haze. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Ethan lost his balance and was pulled onto the bed beside her. The mattress dipped. Victoria wrapped her arms around his waist from behind, pressing her head against his back and nuzzling upwards. Ethan felt an insistent, tickling sensation spread across his back as Victoria's arms tightened around his torso. He grasped her wrists to stop her fidgeting. As he turned his head, he heard Victoria whisper breathlessly, "Ethan, have you ever heard the saying? That people with birthmarks are blessed with good fortune. I want to taste your good fortune." A moist, cool sensation touched the nape of his neck. Victoria was kissing him there. Victoria woke up the next day in Ethan's bed. Ethan rented a 2-bedroom apartment. Since the second bedroom wasn't usually needed, its door was rarely even opened. Last night, however, he'd tidied it up and taken his duvet to sleep there himself. The back of his neck had itched all night, keeping him awake. He couldn't help but touch it. Every time he closed his eyes, the image of Victoria hugging him, kissing the back of his neck, flooded his mind. He knew he had a birthmark there, Grandma Miller had mentioned it when he was a child, saying people with birthmarks on their necks were blessed. He never believed it. Born into the Johnson family with parents like his, he couldn't see himself as fortunate in any way. Not until he died and was reborn. Wasn't being reborn a kind of blessing in itself? Although Victoria had only kissed his neck, an insistent itch spread through him, like ants crawling under his skin. His whole body felt wrong, hot and itchy. Even after a cold shower, the discomfort lingered, making him want to vigorously rub himself all over. He felt an unusual panic last night, so shocked he hadn't dared to move. He didn't know how long Victoria had kissed him. Only when she quieted down did Ethan carefully cover her with a duvet and leave. It was his own home, yet he felt like a thief. Afraid of waking Victoria, he hadn't even washed the dishes. Inside the powder room, he used his phone to take a picture of his neck. The skin there was red from the kissing and biting, complete with teeth marks. It didn't hurt. Recalling it, it even felt slightly pleasant. Ethan hadn't slept well, plagued by chaotic dreams. He woke up hard, a condition that stubbornly refused to subside for the longest time, forcing him into another cold shower first thing in the morning. He tiptoed out. The door to the adjacent bedroom was still closed. Victoria should still be asleep at this hour. Ethan felt dizzy and groggy, the aftereffects of a hangover. Victoria had drunk just as much as he had last night, perhaps more, getting so drunk she'd unconsciously gnawed on his neck like she was chewing on a bone. She would definitely have hangover symptoms when she woke up. Ethan quietly went into the kitchen to make some hangover soup and ordered peppermint oil capsules for delivery online. It was nearing 9, and there was still no sound from the bedroom. Worried something might be wrong, Ethan opened the door a crack to peek inside. Victoria was lying there, eyes wide open, staring right back at him. Ethan, caught looking like a thief, froze. The crucial thing was Victoria wasn't wearing anything. Although the duvet covered most of her, a large expanse of skin was visible, even revealing her bra. She was lying on her side, posture languid, cheeks flushed pink, her watery eyes blinking with a captivating allure. She wasn't flustered by being seen. He was the one left stunned. Ethan quickly shut the door, standing outside. "Are you feeling unwell? I made some hangover soup." When Victoria saw Ethan enter, a flash of pleasant surprise crossed her eyes. Before she could react, he was gone. She threw off the duvet and sat up, picking up the dress. Richard Johnson's attitude towards Ethan changed dramatically after he became impotent. Before, he couldn't stand Ethan, considered him completely dispensable, and treated him with utter disdain. Richard Johnson was a man, a rich man at that. There were plenty of women out there willing to bear his children. If he lost this son, he could always make another. But things were different now. He couldn't make any more sons. As the old saying goes, scarcity creates value, and the same applied to heirs. Getting Ethan back now would be as difficult as kicking him out had been easy. How could an adopted son ever compare to his own flesh and blood? William understood this perfectly, so he decided to strike first. His plan was to make Ethan completely alienate Benjamin Harper, ideally to the point where Harper would get rid of him. If Richard Johnson wanted to take Ethan back now, it would mean making an enemy of Harper Enterprises. Would he dare? As for Richard Johnson, he had grown very critical of William lately. At his age, he'd seen every type of person, and he recognized that William was driven solely by ambition, lacking any conscience. The videos circulating online, including Margaret Johnson's Twitch stream, were all William's doing. He wanted to bring Ethan back into the fold, but it would be difficult to smooth things over with Harper Enterprises. He could only wait until their business partnership ended, then slowly clear up the matter of Ethan killing his sister. When the time came, he'd claim Aunt Margaret suffered from mental illness and wasn't in her right mind, just spouting nonsense. Richard Johnson wasn't worried about getting Ethan back. Ethan was still young, only 24. He didn't understand the importance of money yet. His life was just beginning, and the real expenses were still ahead. Wouldn't marriage cost money? Wouldn't having and raising children cost money? Every man wants to build a good family, establish a successful career, and have more money than he can spend. Richard had plenty of time and patience to mend his relationship with Ethan. He couldn't believe Ethan would refuse the chance to inherit the vast Johnson family trust if it was offered to him. Amelia and William's wedding was set for this coming Saturday, just 5 days away. William was busy with wedding preparations, being taken by Benjamin Harper to meet wealthy people from various industries, tycoons he could never have accessed before. Compared to his excitement, Amelia seemed cold and indifferent, as if the wedding wasn't even for her. She tried on dresses carelessly, posed for photos apathetically, and showed no interest in participating in any other planning. She only attended the wedding rehearsal after Benjamin Harper yelled at her. The closer the wedding drew, the more desperate she felt to escape. Knowing his daughter all too well, Benjamin Harper worried she might cause trouble again. This time, he arranged for people to watch Amelia closely, even confining her to the house for the last 2 days, afraid she'd run away before the ceremony. William noticed Amelia's distraction, but he simply attributed it to pre-wedding jitters and thoughtfully comforted her, telling her not to be nervous. Amelia had another dream. She dreamt she married Ethan. The wedding ceremony was grand. She and Ethan had dated for 3 years. He had always been good to her, very tolerant, and had never lost his temper with her. Living together for a year had given her a taste of the warmth of a real home. She had wanted to marry Ethan, to build a home with him and spend the rest of her life together. As for running out on him at the philanthropic gala, she knew she had wronged Ethan, but she'd had her reasons. It wasn't that she intentionally broke their agreement. Besides, the gala wasn't their wedding. It wasn't that important. The night before the wedding, she couldn't sleep. She got up at 5 a.m., put on her makeup and wedding dress, and waited for Ethan to arrive. It was a marriage of convenience, just going through the motions. Amelia hadn't expected to feel much, but the moment Ethan opened the door and walked in, her heart leaped uncontrollably, anticipation surging within her. At the wedding, holding her dress, she walked slowly towards Ethan on her father's arm. Ethan stood under the lights, tall and imposing in his white suit, looking like a prince. His naturally handsome features were striking with just a little effort, making it impossible to look away. At the altar, Pastor Smith held the holy book and asked solemnly, "Mr. Ethan, are you willing to care for Miss Amelia for life, to treasure her and protect her, whether in poverty or wealth, health or sickness?" In the dream, Ethan held her hand, slipped a wedding ring on her finger, and said, "I will." After the wedding, Ethan did indeed take very good care of her, just as he had before they were married. He kept the house immaculate and granted her every request. The only thing missing was love. She carefully replayed Pastor Smith's words from that day in her mind. What state of mind had she been in to overlook the fact that the pastor hadn't mentioned love? Was the omission unintentional or deliberate? Ethan treated her incredibly well, yet she couldn't feel any love from him. To test whether he truly loved her, she started doing outrageous things. For instance, she'd ask William to the movies, and when photos were inevitably leaked to TMZ by onlookers, sparking controversy, she never offered any explanation. Sometimes she'd go out drinking with William until late at night, waiting for Ethan to come get her. He no longer seemed worried about her safety when she was out. Seeing her with William didn't make him angry or even seem to bother him. He remained rational, giving her plenty of freedom. Her friends were actually quite envious. But she hated it. She felt Ethan had changed. Before the wedding, she was sure she'd felt his affection for her. Is this how all men become after marriage? Once they have you, they stop cherishing you? She brought up the subject of children with Ethan, saying she didn't want to give birth herself but wanted to adopt. She assumed most men wouldn't accept a child that wasn't their own flesh and blood, but Ethan agreed immediately, without a second thought. "Let's adopt then." Amelia watched her dream self fly into a frustrated rage and actually begin the adoption process. She had William accompany her to the Hope Springs foster home to pick out a young boy. When she brought the child home, she practically dumped him on Ethan out of spite. Yet, Ethan remained completely unmoved, no anger, no resentment. He simply accepted the situation passively, even handling the official registration and naming the boy Daniel. Once the adoption was final, Amelia washed her hands of the boy, leaving Ethan to care for him. On top of his work and looking after Amelia, Ethan now had the added burden of raising a child. Ethan was often too busy to even rest. He had assumed things might get easier as the boy grew older, but then came the responsibility for his education, nurturing his interests. Ethan had to handle everything himself. Watching the dream, Amelia grew angry with her dream self. Why on earth had she adopted a child? She had wanted to confirm her place in Ethan's heart, and now she had only succeeded in diverting his time and energy elsewhere. That's how people are. The more you try to prove a point out of spite, the more you risk losing. After the wedding, Amelia had subconsciously begun to treat Ethan like her property. Her desire to control him was intense, and she would fly into a rage over the most trivial matters. In the dream, her younger self, before she turned 30, was ill-tempered and constantly looked for trouble. Frankly, no one could have put up with her, except those who did so purely to curry favor and benefit from her connections. She treated Ethan the same way. And why wouldn't she? Theirs wasn't a marriage, but a strategic alliance. After they married, Hadn't Harper Enterprises funneled numerous lucrative projects to the Johnson family? That connection alone gave her the leverage to be unreasonable and act out however she pleased. She couldn't stand Ethan's female executive assistant, so she had her fired immediately. Ethan didn't mind William being around her, but she was incredibly possessive about the women near him. After firing his secretary, Ethan replaced his entire staff with men, which finally pleased her somewhat. The dreamscape was disjointed, ignoring any linear timeline. One moment, she saw Ethan at 50. The next, he was bathing their child, helping him study, walking him to school. Finally, she watched him being wheeled out of the morgue. Daniel held Ethan's possessions. There wasn't much, just his clothes, a phone, and a ring. She tried to slip the ring onto Ethan's ring finger, only to find he'd unknowingly grown so thin that it slid loosely. Amelia woke up crying again. It wasn't the first time she had dreamed of Ethan dying, but this instance was much clearer than the previous ones. Her heart felt like a chunk had been torn out, leaving a gaping hole where an icy wind howled through, making her insides ache sharply. She clutched her chest, desperate to plug the void. It was just a dream, so why could she so clearly recall the chilling cold of Ethan's hand? Amelia scrambled out of bed, frantically searching her bedroom in the dead of night. Finally, tucked away in a crevice at the very bottom of her nightstand, she found a ring. This was the engagement ring Ethan had intended to give her at the birthday charity ball, but she hadn't shown up, so he'd thrown it in the trash. She had fished it out of the bin back then and tossed it into a drawer. If it hadn't been for these recurring nightmares, she might have forgotten it entirely. Amelia held the ring up to the light, peering at the inscription on the inner band, ZY and XW. For the first time, dream and reality converged tangibly. Amelia's fingers went numb, and the ring slipped, clattering to the floor. They had broken off the engagement, so why was she constantly dreaming of a married life with him? If the dreams were real, why did Ethan die? Why wasn't she with him at the end? Why hadn't she even seen him one last time? How could the seemingly healthy Ethan become terminally ill? What sickness did he have? Lately, the dreams had become more frequent, the images within them increasingly vivid, making her suspect they weren't just dreams, but glimpses of a possible future. Of course, that was just speculation. The Ethan in reality was starkly different from the one in her dreams. The real Ethan treated her with cold indifference, countered her arguments ruthlessly, dismissed her entirely, and showed zero concern. He'd even viciously attacked her reputation time and again, all for Victoria. For now, only the ring connected the dream world to reality. It was just an identical ring. Rings engraved with initials weren't exactly rare. Maybe it was just a coincidence, a figment of her own troubled imagination. If those dreams truly depicted her future with Ethan, then William shouldn't be the one waiting for her at the altar the day after tomorrow. She knew better than anyone how difficult marrying Ethan would be. For starters, Benjamin Harper would never approve. Amelia retrieved the ring from the floor, her thoughts a tangled mess. She sank down, leaning her back against the bed frame, staring into space. After a long moment, she pulled out her phone, found Ethan's number, and sent a text. "Ethan, come to my wedding. I'll go with you." If she could just marry Ethan, she wouldn't be the unreasonable shrew from her nightmares. She'd cherish him, build a life with him, have his children grow old together. She'd keep her distance from William, respect Ethan's feelings, treasure him, care for him. "So Ethan, please, come, crash the wedding? I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have trampled on your pride, shouldn't have ignored your feelings." The text went unanswered, vanishing into silence. She tried every social media platform she could think of, only for some to notify her that he had blocked or deleted her. Unwilling to give up, Amelia racked her brain for anyone who might be able to reach Ethan. Finally, she called the director. It was 4 a.m. The person on the other end was clearly asleep, answering groggily, their voice sharp with irritation. "Who the hell is this? Calling at this ungodly hour?" "Director, it's Amelia." There was a pause, then the director's voice took on a knowing tone. "Ms. Harper, to what do I owe the pleasure of this late-night call? Speaking of which, aren't you and William getting married the day after tomorrow? Congratulations in advance." Swallowing her discomfort, Amelia asked, her voice raspy, "Do you have Ethan's contact information? I can't seem to reach him." "Director, why do you need it? Sending him a last-minute wedding invitation?" "No, it's not for that." Amelia tightened her grip on the phone, mortified. The director mused. "Well, at this hour, he's unlikely to answer anyway. Why not wait and try calling him during the day? Although, I heard Ethan might have changed his number recently, so even I might not be able to reach him. You two live in the same district, don't you?" "Pretty close." Why not just go see him in person? Some things are better said face to face. The director's inner gossip columnist perked up. A woman about to get married, suddenly desperate to contact her ex? That usually meant only one thing. She wasn't over him. This was the kind of drama the director lived for. He practically wished he could bring popcorn to the wedding ceremony. If she could just go find Ethan herself, she wouldn't be making this call. Amelia stated flatly, "It's not convenient for me to go see him." The director fished. "So, what did you want to tell him? I could pass on a message, perhaps." "It's nothing," Amelia said quickly. "I just wanted to see if you had another way to contact him. Since you don't, forget it." Sensing Amelia was about to hang up, the director hurried. "Ms. Harper, about that wedding the day after tomorrow. Any chance I could get an invitation?" He definitely wanted a front row seat for the potential fireworks. Amelia replied coolly, "Give me your address. I'll have someone send one over." After hanging up, Amelia mentally scrolled through her contacts again. The name she'd been deliberately avoiding finally surfaced. Victoria. A video of Victoria and Ethan grocery shopping together had recently trended on Twitter, fueling rumors they were dating, even living together. Amelia refused to believe it. But right now, Victoria might be the only person who could actually reach Ethan. Gritting her teeth, Amelia finally dialed Victoria's number. Unsurprisingly, it went straight to voicemail. Amelia composed a blunt text message to Victoria. "Send me Ethan's private number." Sleep was impossible. Amelia stared at the ceiling until dawn, eyes wide open. Every time she tried to close them, the horrifying image of Ethan dead flashed behind her eyelids. At 8 in the morning, Victoria replied with 2 simple words. "No way." Amelia clenched her jaw, her sleep-deprived, bloodshot eyes turning even redder. Furious, she immediately called Victoria again. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently busy." Victoria had blocked her number. On Victoria's end, shortly after blocking Amelia, a call came in from Victor. Anticipating the drama unfolding tomorrow, Victoria was in a surprisingly good mood and decided to answer. When the call connected, Victor sounded taken aback. After a stunned second, he bellowed, "Victoria, when are you coming home? Amelia's getting married tomorrow. As her aunt, you have to be there." Victoria rarely answered Victor's calls, and when she did, she was inevitably met with a lecture. They say an elder brother is like a father and an elder sister like a mother. Victor certainly acted like he was her parent. "Stop going on that trashy reality show you were on. Do you think you're still young? You're 27, chasing after men with a bunch of little girls. And, of all people, you had to go after Ethan? He's your niece's ex-fiancé. You're going to disgrace the entire Harper Enterprises name. If you're so desperate for a man, I'll arrange a marriage for you. Someone much better than Ethan. I don't care how you messed around before, but I will make the decision regarding your marriage. As a child of Harper Enterprises, you need to think about the company." It was all a load of crap, but the last part was the point. Thinking about Harper Enterprises meant being packaged up and sold off, or to put it nicely, an arranged marriage. Victor was 10 years her senior, 37 this year. Age hadn't brought wisdom. His head seemed purely decorative. Victoria listened for a while, then yawned. "Are you even listening to me?" Victor, enraged by Victoria's indifference, roared through the phone. "Tomorrow is Amelia's wedding," Victor fumed. "You're only a couple years younger than Amelia. Growing up, even Benjamin Harper never laid a hand on her. What right did you have to hit her? If Harper Enterprises weren't connected to our family by marriage, you would have lost that hand." Clearly, Amelia had been complaining plenty to Victor, making him think Victoria was still that pathetic girl who could be beaten bloody on the ground. "You must attend Amelia's wedding tomorrow and apologize to her." Victoria only ever caused trouble for the family. Because of this incident, after Amelia called him, Benjamin Harper had called him too, his words filled with stern warnings. "Fine, I'll be there tomorrow." Victor sounded satisfied and was about to say more, but Victoria cut him off with a curt "annoying" and hung up. After hanging up, Victoria went to find Ethan. He was at his desk, working. Victoria sat in a nearby chair, leaning over the desk to watch him. "Come watch the drama with me tomorrow." Ethan stared at his computer, not processing for a moment before subconsciously asking, "What drama?" "It's Amelia's wedding ceremony tomorrow. Don't you want a front row seat to enjoy the gossip? Especially since this huge scoop was basically served up by Ethan himself. Wouldn't he want to see the results up close?" "In what capacity would I go with you?" Victoria traced circles on the desk with her finger, her voice laced with ambiguity. "As my date, of course." Ethan nodded. "I'll go with you tomorrow." Victoria didn't want to push Ethan too hard. She needed to take it slow. But she'd had a taste on Thanksgiving night and wanted more. She needed to find a way to break through, to force his hand a bit. "I'll take care of our outfits for tomorrow." The clothes were already prepared. Victoria knew Ethan's measurements and had ordered several custom-tailored formal suits for him half a month ago. Victoria made a call. 2 hours later, there was a knock at the door. People filed in as she opened it. While Ethan continued working inside, Victoria selected the clothes outside. She chose a black suit for Ethan. As for herself, on such a momentous day, she decided on a red dress. The first Sunday of October, an auspicious day for marriage. Many couples were getting married in Rosewood City today, but the grandest affair undoubtedly belonged to Harper Enterprises. They had booked the entire 5-star Rosewood Grand Hotel, and everyone from the upper echelons of society was attending. Amelia hadn't slept again last night. Overly anxious, she'd even broken out in pimples. Her overall condition looked terrible. The makeup artist had been booked a month in advance and was highly skilled. Sensing Amelia's tension, she chatted while applying the makeup. "Ms. Harper, are you feeling nervous?" "A little. Would you like some water to help you relax? Your expression is quite stiff. Look in the mirror. You look so beautiful today. You should smile more." She wanted to smile, but she just couldn't. She stared at her reflection. Under the makeup artist's skillful hands, her haggard face had become radiant and captivating. The makeup artist applied her lipstick. Amelia tried to curve her lips, but the result was a smile uglier than tears. She clenched her fists, watching the doorway in the mirror. She had spent a month trying to brainwash herself, but she still didn't want to marry William. The decision to marry William had been made a month ago, but the wedding gown she wore had been in preparation for half a year. When she was measured for it, she had been dreaming of marrying Ethan. The stylist pinned the tiara onto her hair. "Ms. Harper, your gown is truly beautiful. It suits you perfectly. You look as elegant as any celebrity. And they say online that you and Mr. Hayes were childhood sweethearts, separated for so many years, only to find your way back to each other. It just shows the right people always end up together." The stylist's tone was eager, but Amelia was zoning out, lost in thought. Hearing the end of the remark, she merely gave a polite nod without saying anything. In the mirror, her eyes looked distant and indifferent, as if today weren't her wedding day at all. The stylist who had spoken felt awkward. She had meant to ease the tension, but instead, the atmosphere grew even more strained. After that, no one in the room spoke, busying themselves with tasks. "Ms. Harper, let's go over the wedding ceremony schedule one more time." Amelia listened quietly. Halfway through the stylist's explanation, someone's phone rang. Amelia reacted sharply, immediately opening a drawer and grabbing her phone, which was still vibrating. Seeing it wasn't Ethan calling, she looked slightly disappointed. As Amelia answered the call, the room instantly fell silent. "Amelia, guess who I just saw?" "I saw Victoria." Amelia frowned. What was so surprising about seeing Victoria? She was expected at an event like this. And Victoria brought a date. "Guess who? It's Ethan, your ex-fiancé. Do you think she brought Ethan to your wedding to cause a scene?" From that long-winded statement, Amelia distilled the crucial point into 2 words. Ethan's here. Ethan was here. Had he seen the DMs, the messages she'd sent him? Was he here to take her away? Even now, she clung to such a ridiculous hope. But without that hope, she truly didn't know how she could go through with this. Amelia touched the ruby pendant hanging around her neck, then suddenly gathered her skirts and walked towards the door. Her sudden action startled those around her. "Ms. Harper, where are you going? You can't just wander off now. The ceremony is about to start. Everyone outside is watching." Learning from past experience, Benjamin Harper had stationed people both inside and outside the room to watch Amelia, ensuring she wouldn't run off and disrupt the proceedings. "I'm just stepping out for some fresh air." Ignoring them, Amelia pushed the door open, only to come face to face with William standing outside. After a 2-second stare, William smiled slightly. "Amelia, where are you going?" William grasped the doorknob, his voice soft. "Where are you going?" Dressed in a white suit, William looked every bit the handsome Prince Charming today. With his flawless, movie star looks, he smiled at Amelia, his face brimming with tenderness. But a closer look revealed no real warmth in the depths of his eyes. Amelia's throat tightened. Guiltily, she averted her gaze. "It's too stuffy in here. I want to get some fresh air." William glanced at the voluminous skirt of Amelia's wedding dress, his eyes darkening. "You're already in your gown. It's not easy to move around, is it? The ceremony is about to start. Just bear with it a little longer. Besides, I remember the windows in this room are large, and the air conditioning is on. It shouldn't be stuffy." Amelia bit her lower lip. William took her hand. "Amelia, you have no idea how many years I've waited for this day. I can finally marry you. I'm due to make my entrance in 10 minutes. If you leave now, I'll be incredibly anxious." I'll start wondering if you don't want to marry me anymore. He forced a wry smile. It's not just you who's nervous these past few days. I am too. People tend to get anxious and insecure when happiness is finally within reach. Amelia, this is such an important day, with so many people watching outside. We can't afford any mistakes. Amelia's mind was a mess, and beads of sweat formed on her forehead. William gently dabbed her forehead with a handkerchief, soothing her as he did. I know you feel stuffy and uncomfortable. Please, just endure it a little longer for my sake. This wedding wasn't hers to control. She'd already acted impulsively once at the philanthropic gala. This occasion was even grander, and Benjamin Harper had repeatedly stressed that absolutely nothing could go wrong. The reputation of the entire Harper Enterprises was at stake. If Amelia dared to run away now, she'd be dragging her father's name through the mud. Everyone would laugh at them. As if doused with ice water, Amelia snapped back to reality. She forced a smile. All right, I won't go out. And you? Try not to be too nervous either. William tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. How could I not be nervous when I'm about to marry you? But more than nervous, I'm excited. Amelia had been the one to suggest the wedding, and now she was the one regretting it, wanting to call it off. Facing William's seemingly sincere gaze, she felt overwhelmingly ashamed. She knew she shouldn't be thinking of running away. It was disrespectful to William. Yet, she couldn't control the impulse. Amelia took a step back into the room, releasing her grip on the doorknob. Go on, attend to things. I'm fine now. As the door clicked shut, William's expression turned utterly cold, as if coated in frost. Some women just take a mile when you give them an inch. He used to genuinely like Amelia, but after getting together with her, he found she wasn't all that special. She was about to marry him, yet she couldn't forget Ethan. Always wanting what she didn't have, acting as if marrying him was some great injustice. He hadn't even held her 3-year relationship with Ethan against her, so what right did she have to treat him so coldly? She was the one who initiated their relationship and engagement. Was she just playing him for a fool now? William clenched the handkerchief, then tossed it into a nearby trash bin with disgust as he walked past. Unruly women tend to settle down once they're married and have children. At 11 o'clock, the guests had all arrived. Victoria Harper entered, arm in arm with Ethan, immediately drawing everyone's attention. A handsome man and a beautiful woman are naturally eye-catching, especially a stunning beauty like Victoria Harper, who entered like a blazing flame in her red dress. Ethan beside her was equally striking. Sharp brows, star-like eyes, looks aside, his physique and athletic build were top-notch. It was hard to believe he was only 24. The well-fitted jacket and impeccably draped trousers accentuated his height and long legs. Unlike the friendly, gentle image he projected with the production crew, today Ethan exuded a cool detachment, his dark eyes like cold crystal beads. Victoria Harper's beauty had an edge to it, an intensity that few men could match. But standing next to Ethan, the balance was perfect. They looked incredibly well-suited. People stopped mid-conversation, stunned into silence upon seeing Ethan. They had last seen him just 2 months ago. How could he have changed so drastically in such a short time? His aura was so intense, it felt like he was here to crash the party. Am I seeing things? Why is Ethan here? Don't tell me he still can't get over Amelia Harper. What nonsense are you spouting? If he couldn't get over her, why would he show up with Victoria Harper? The rumors must be true. They really did get together on that reality show. Ethan coming with Victoria today is clearly a move to reclaim his pride. Just 2 months ago, he was her fiancé. Now, suddenly, he's practically her uncle. How dare Ethan even show his face here? Has that business online about him killing his sister been resolved? Just looking at him scares me. I'm staying far away from him later. That William is really something else. Not only did he snatch Ethan's fiancé, but now he's practically stolen his parents too. I wonder how much of the Johnson family trust William will get. William sure is lucky. When Amelia Harper broke off her engagement for him back then, I knew they had something going on. She barely broke up with Ethan before announcing her wedding date with William. I wonder how Amelia managed to convince her father. The commotion was too big to ignore. Benjamin Harper also spotted Victoria Harper and Ethan. The moment Benjamin Harper saw Ethan, he remembered the $100 million he'd lost, and his eyes practically bulged with anger. He grabbed Victor. Why did Victoria Harper bring Ethan here? What? Ethan? Where? Victor belatedly noticed Victoria Harper in the distance. He quickly explained, Brother-in-law, I only invited Victoria Harper. I had no idea she'd bring Ethan. I'll go throw them out right now. Benjamin Harper stopped him. Forget it. The reception has already started. If we kick them out now, people will say I'm petty. He sneered. Those two useless fools can't stir up any real trouble. If they want to watch, let them watch. We'll settle the score with them after the reception is over. Despite his words, his fury didn't subside as he looked at Ethan. If looks could kill, Ethan would have been sliced into 1,000 pieces. Victor shivered at Benjamin Harper's vicious glare, standing meekly to the side without a word. "Where's Richard Johnson?" Benjamin Harper asked. "He was just here. Probably went to the powder room." One was his biological son, estranged for over a decade. The other, his recently acknowledged godson. Now, they were in the same place. If something happened today, who would Richard Johnson choose? At that moment, Richard Johnson was unaware Ethan had arrived. He was with William. "Uncle Hayes, where's Godmother?" Due to Richard Johnson's recent coolness towards him, William still couldn't bring himself to call him Godfather. "She's ill and couldn't make it. It's their big day. If she suddenly has a meltdown, things could get ugly." William considered this, recalling the frantic raving and hoarse screams, like a rabid dog, when Margaret Johnson lost it. This really wasn't the occasion to invite her. Outside, Victoria Harper and Ethan found a place to sit. Wanting a good view of the drama, they chose an out-of-the-way spot, leaving the spotlight to the main characters. Amelia's wedding ceremony. Olivia Bennet was here too. Seeing Victoria Harper arrive with Ethan, she was first stunned, then pleased, then crestfallen. There was a buzz in the air as people whispered about Victoria Harper and Ethan, including plenty of nasty comments. Approaching them now would surely plunge her into the thick of the gossip, but Olivia Bennet couldn't care less. She hadn't seen Ethan in so long. Every time she wanted to ask him out, she couldn't find an excuse, and she never knew what to say when calling or texting. Holding up the hem of her dress, Olivia Bennet walked towards Ethan, drawing eyes all the way. "Olivia, where are you going? To find Ethan? Don't tell me there's something going on between them. Is she crazy? Going up to Ethan now? Isn't she afraid of embarrassing herself? Doesn't her family care?" Olivia Bennet heard the whispers, but she couldn't be bothered right now. She half ran over to Ethan. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Did Amelia send you an invitation?" "No. If he didn't get an invitation, how did he get in?" Victoria Harper, beside him, chimed in, "He's my date." Olivia Bennet frowned. "Are you serious? How could you bring him to a place like this? What's wrong with this place? There's food, drinks, and plenty of entertainment. Look, even the director is here." Victoria Harper raised her glass in a toast to the director in the distance. Victoria Harper stood up, gently patting Ethan's shoulder. "I'm going to the powder room. Wait for me here, don't wander off." Ethan nodded. As soon as Victoria Harper left, Olivia Bennet muttered, "She's treating you like a child, telling you not to wander off. I saw posts about you and Victoria Harper on my Instagram feed, saying you're living together. Is that true? We're not living together. Our houses are just close, and we eat together, hang out together, take walks together every day." Of course, there was no need to tell Olivia Bennet any of that. Olivia Bennet breathed a sigh of relief. "That's what I thought. How could Ethan possibly live with Victoria Harper? Why did you come here today?" She didn't believe Ethan was just here for the food. The recent online drama surrounding him was huge. So many people were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. The moment Ethan appeared, people stared at him like he was some kind of exhibit. Who knew what they were saying behind his back? If it were her, she couldn't stand such humiliation. Olivia Bennet saw Ethan looking at the display stand in the distance. It held Amelia and William's wedding photo. Her heart suddenly tightened, and she asked in a strained voice, "You couldn't possibly be here because you're still hung up on Amelia, right?" Thinking about it, Amelia and Ethan had dated for 3 years, even reaching the point of discussing marriage. Ethan had loved Amelia so devotedly back then, practically a simp, perfect in every way, but sadly, his devotion wasn't returned. Although Ethan was the one who called off the wedding, how could years of feelings be let go so easily? Seeing Amelia's wedding ceremony, his heart must be breaking right now. Olivia Bennet's eyes reddened as she thought of the saying, "I dressed to the nines just to attend your wedding." Wasn't Ethan dressed up today? Handsome from head to toe. Olivia Bennet's heart ached terribly for him, like knives stabbing it. Ethan was just too pitiful. 3 years ending in nothing. Unloved by his parents, disliked by the person he loved, they all preferred William. Helplessly watching William take everything from him. How much pain must Ethan be in? Ethan looked at her like she was an idiot. Oblivious, Olivia Bennet said awkwardly, "Ethan, Amelia isn't worth your affection. If you can't hold on to sand, just let it go. Move on. Forget her. There's always someone else. It's her loss if she doesn't like you. You'll definitely find someone better." What the heck? Ethan couldn't help but chuckle. What kind of nonsense goes through your head all day? I stopped liking Amelia ages ago. I just came here today to watch the show with Victoria Harper. Then what were you staring at near Amelia's wedding photo just now? When was I looking at her wedding photo? Olivia Bennett pointed. Ethan realized. I was looking at the champagne tower and the wedding cake next to it. Could she have misunderstood? Olivia Bennett quickly changed the subject. Do you want some wedding cake? I'll go get it. She remembered Ethan had low blood sugar. He usually ate breakfast so early. He was probably hungry by now. Ethan, I can get it myself. Let me go, you just sit here. Don't wander off. Saying this, Olivia Bennett stood up, picked up her skirt, asked a server for a tray, and piled small plates high with every delicious-looking type of wedding cake she could see. Ethan looked at the mountain of desserts. Why did you get so much? I didn't know which ones tasted good, so I got a little bit of everything. Hurry up and eat. Ethan couldn't possibly eat that much. Desserts tasted good, but too many weren't good for you. While nibbling on a pastry, Ethan listened to the conversations around him. Hasn't the real estate market been climbing too fast lately? Land that was just a few thousand per square meter not long ago is now up to $3K, $4K, and it's still rising. Like over in the new district, it's nearing $40,000 now. People who bought houses a month ago really cashed in. Have you heard about the new investment guru? Very mysterious, only known by the surname Yen. His name is popping up everywhere. He just emerged last month, and his net worth is probably already over $5 million. I think it's more than that. Someone with that ability can't be a newcomer. It's probably an alias for some big shot. My husband heard that this Mr. Yen is connected to the Yin group. How so? Both are very mysterious. And think about the name Yin. Doesn't it sound like Yin? Now that you mention it, that makes a lot of sense. People have been asking around about him everywhere lately. With so many people here today, do you think this Mr. Yen might be among us? Ethan popped the last piece of pastry into his mouth, a smile tugging at his lips. Is it good? Olivia Bennett asked him. Ethan sighed. It's delicious, but my stomach is sensitive. I can't eat this much. Olivia Bennett felt even more sorry for Ethan. His love life was a mess, and his health was poor too. Her thoughts jumped. Do you ever watch Twitch streaming? When I can't eat something, I like watching others eat it. Feels like I've eaten it too. Sometimes. Olivia Bennett cheerfully pointed at the tray of wedding cake. Which one of these mini cakes do you still want to try? Ethan followed her finger. The tray held all sorts of little desserts. Ethan chose a chocolate one. That one then. Olivia Bennett picked it up and took a large bite. After savoring it carefully, she showed a satisfied expression. The chocolate flavor is really rich, the cake is fluffy, and there's some fruit jam inside. It's really good. As a female, celebrity mindful of her image, she rarely ate sweets. But today, just to let Ethan watch his fill, Olivia Bennett ate 8 pieces of wedding cake in one go, her mouth feeling overly sweet. When Victoria Harper returned, Ethan was still sitting obediently where she'd left him. Several plates of pastry sat before him, and beside him, Olivia Bennett was stuffing her cheeks like a hamster, chatting with Ethan as she ate. Victoria Harper walked over and patted Olivia Bennett's head. Olivia had her hair done in soft curls today. The fluffy style, paired with her pale yellow dress, made her look exceptionally playful and cute. Her hair felt nice, so Victoria Harper ruffled it again. Olivia Bennett ducked, covering her head, and snapped irritably, "Don't touch my hair." Victoria Harper lowered her hand, asking with a smile, "Aren't you getting sick of eating so much cake?" "None of your business. I'll eat as much as I want. Careful you don't get fat and break out." As the two bickered, the MC walked onto the stage. Music began to play, drawing everyone's attention. The proceedings were standard, nothing out of the ordinary, except for William, standing on the stage, gazing down almost imperiously at Ethan in the distance, his eyes filled with provocation and triumph. Olivia Bennett exclaimed indignantly, "Is William looking at you? How dare he look at you like that? Shameless." Quite the change, Victoria thought. Just 2 months ago, Olivia had been singing William's praises to Ethan. Olivia Bennett's friends finally located her after searching for a while. "Olivia, what are you doing here? You're Amelia's best friend. Shouldn't you be closer to the stage for the bouquet toss later?" Olivia Bennett stated flatly, "I was, but not anymore. You two had a fight? We've been trying to get you to come out lately, but you never do." One of the girls trailed off. No one took Olivia's words seriously. She glanced disdainfully at Ethan beside Olivia and whispered, "Why are you hanging out with someone like Ethan? If your dad found out, he'd kill you." At the mention of her family, Olivia Bennett clutched the fabric of her dress tightly. "Who I hang out with is none of your business. Back off. Don't make me cause a scene on such a happy occasion." For Ethan's sake, Olivia Bennett had pretty much offended everyone around her. Over the past month, plenty of people had whispered bad things about Ethan in her ear, persistent pests she couldn't shoo away. Did they think she didn't know what kind of person Ethan was? As for the online rumors about him killing his sister, she didn't believe a word of it. Suddenly, The lights in the hall dimmed. Bellmen opened the main doors from either side, and a spotlight fell upon Amelia at the far end, dressed in a pristine white wedding gown. The buzzing chatter instantly ceased. The wedding venue, decorated at great expense, was dreamlike and luxurious, exuding the allure of wealth in every detail. Amelia held her bouquet in one hand and Benjamin Harper's arm with the other. Usually, a bride's first glance upon entering is towards the groom, standing directly ahead, also illuminated. But as Amelia entered, she couldn't see anyone else. Her mind was filled only with Ethan. This wedding felt infinitely close to the one in her dreams. The same setting, the same people. In her dream, she had walked down the aisle to the background music, dragging the heavy skirt, holding her father's arm, step by step towards Ethan. Upon entering, Amelia's first instinct was to search for Ethan. Finally, she spotted him in a corner. Her previously lifeless eyes suddenly lit up. In that instant, no one else existed for her. Amelia froze, the desperate urge to run to him intensifying. Had Ethan seen the text message she sent? Did he still have feelings for her? Maybe those harsh words he'd said before didn't come from his heart. Maybe he was just being stubborn. Maybe he hadn't stopped loving her. Amelia's mind became consumed by these ridiculous, absurd thoughts, leaving no room for anything else. Her steps halted. Under the weight of everyone's gaze, Benjamin Harper suppressed his anger and tugged sharply on Amelia's arm. Take a good look at who you're marrying today. Amelia snapped back to reality, her gaze finally shifting to William. A wave of sour bitterness rose within her, like stomach acid burning her throat. Benjamin Harper warned her in a low voice, with so many people watching, "Do you want me to lose face completely here?" How Amelia wished she could defy morality, ignore the gossip, and run off the stage. But Benjamin Harper's words were like a slap, instantly pulling her back from her jumbled thoughts to reality. She couldn't let her personal feelings turn this event into a laughingstock for so many people. If she really left the stage for Ethan today, Harper Enterprises would be forever nailed to a pillar of shame, becoming fodder for idle gossip. Flower girls scattered petals on either side. Amelia followed the spotlight and saw William, dressed in a white suit, wearing an elegant and appropriate smile. He took 2 steps towards her, then stopped. Amelia looked at William, but couldn't stop thinking of Ethan, the Ethan from her dream. Her eyes stung. The red carpet wasn't even that long, yet it felt like she had been walking forever. The bride is here. She's so beautiful. A handsome couple, a perfect match. Poor Ethan, worked hard for 3 years just to set the stage for someone else. What good is effort in love? If someone doesn't like you, nothing you do will change that. Looking at them, William and Amelia really do seem well matched. You can't beat a story of childhood sweethearts reuniting. I used to think William's status wasn't quite good enough for Amelia, but now that the Johnson family has adopted him, he's basically the son of a wealthy family too. Amelia seemed oblivious, the curious gazes from the crowd feeling like arrows piercing her skin. William stood before Benjamin Harper, saying a few words. "Dad, please rest assured and entrust Amelia to me. I promise I will treat her well." Benjamin Harper patted William's shoulder, then took Amelia's hand and placed it in William's. Although the engagement and wedding had been fraught with unpleasantness and various issues had arisen today, Benjamin felt a sense of release at this moment. His heart and eyes were filled solely with his daughter. He recalled when Amelia was just born, such a tiny bundle, growing bigger day by day. For not being able to walk or talk, to slowly toddling towards him and calling him daddy. These 20-odd years felt like the blink of an eye. Amelia had grown up so fast, and now she was getting married. His daughter was about to become someone else's wife, and, eventually, she would have children of her own, become a mother. Benjamin Harper felt as though he had completed a crucial mission. His eyes welled up, his hands trembled. "I ask for nothing else, only that you take good care of Amelia. If you can't, send her back to me or call me to come get her. She's the daughter I watched grow up. I won't tolerate her suffering even the slightest grievance." Amelia bit her lip, tears instantly rolling down her cheeks. The scene moved many in the audience. Victoria Harper couldn't resist a sarcastic comment. "Looks like she's pretty aggrieved right now." Benjamin Harper stepped down and sat with Richard Johnson and Victor Harper. Still worried about Ethan, concerned he might cause trouble, Benjamin instructed his nearby security detail to keep a close eye on him, to subdue him immediately at any sign of disturbance. The wedding ceremony continued, swiftly moving to the declaration of vows and exchange of rings. The food courses began to arrive. Just then, several police officers in uniform walked into the venue. On the stage, Pastor Smith, holding the scripture, seemed to overlap with the figure from her dreams. Mr. Hayes, do you take Amelia Harper to be your wife, to live together in matrimony? Will you love her, comfort her, honor and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, be faithful to her as long as you both shall live? William looked tenderly at Amelia. I do. Pastor Smith turned to Amelia and asked the same question. Amelia bit her lip. The promise ring hanging around her neck felt like a branding iron, searing her heart with pain. Her silence was so profound that even those focused on enjoying the feast paused, chopsticks hovering, to stare at her. What's wrong with Amelia today? She looks like she's lost her soul, totally out of it. We're already at this part. How is she still spaced out? Don't tell me she doesn't want to go through with this. When she was with Ethan Johnson, she treated him like a simp and didn't seem to like him. But she chose William herself. Surely she likes him, right? William's expression darkened. He whispered urgently. Amelia. Amelia snapped back to reality, forcing her stiff lips into a semblance of a smile. I do. In the audience, Benjamin Harper let out a tense sigh of relief. He watched as William and Amelia exchanged rings on the stage. The rings were placed, the vows exchanged, the ceremony was complete. Just as everyone was about to applaud, the main doors burst open, revealing a dozen uniformed police officers. The imposing phalanx of police officers filed in, impossible to ignore. But soon, everyone's attention shifted to Ethan Johnson. They assumed the police were there for Ethan. After all, the online rumors about him killing his sister were rampant. Perhaps the police investigation had uncovered something else. He was so bad as a child. How could he have grown into a good person? More and more eyes turned towards Ethan, filled with morbid curiosity and schadenfreude. This was especially true for William on the stage. His face, shadowed, twisted into a malicious grin, looking like he might burst out laughing any second. As for Amelia beside him, her expression was far more intriguing. She actually looked worried about Ethan, even making a move to step down from the stage. But the heavy wedding dress restricted her movement, and William gripped her hand tightly. Amidst the mockery, indifference, pity, and worry in the crowd, Olivia Bennett stood up, ready to shield Ethan at a moment's notice. The calmest two people in the room were Victoria Harper and Ethan Johnson. Both glanced over nonchalantly. Victoria Harper, chewing gum, took a tissue and spat it out. They must be here for Ethan. So many cops. Looks like serious business. Ethan's finished. Why would he even show his face now, especially somewhere so public? Serves him right. He's going to be the internet's laughingstock again. Just as everyone was whispering about whether Ethan was about to be escorted to the Metropolitan Police Department, the lead officer scanned the room and walked straight towards Benjamin Harper's table. He flashed his badge and spoke gravely. Richard Johnson, you need to come with us. Richard Johnson looked utterly bewildered, standing up shakily. Are you sure you have the right person? Have you made a mistake? No one wasted words on him. The officers immediately surrounded him. 19 years ago, your wife, Margaret Johnson, committed intentional homicide, and you covered up the evidence. More recently, you've been involved in unlawful imprisonment and assault. Furthermore, the Johnson Group is suspected of multiple corporate crimes. We need you to accompany us to the station for questioning. These few sentences drained the color from Richard Johnson's face. His legs trembled so violently he could barely walk. In the end, two officers had to physically support him as they escorted him out. No one had expected the police to take Richard Johnson, and judging by their decisiveness, the evidence was clearly solid. Richard Johnson wasn't getting away. What murder 19 years ago? Don't tell me Margaret Johnson killed her own daughter. Impossible. How could a mother kill her own daughter? Simultaneously, a video started trending on Twitter. It was the evidence Ethan Johnson had prepared, photos, recordings, irrefutable proof that left the perpetrators no escape, effectively sealing the couple's fate. The internet exploded. Grace Parker retweeted it immediately, followed by likes and shares from the production crew. The backlash was as intense as the initial online outrage directed at Ethan had been. Human nature could truly be this ugly. Netizens had speculated Ethan killed the child, or that it was an accident. They never imagined a mother, jealous of the affection her daughter received, would beat her child to death and show no remorse afterward. The online mob turned their fury towards Margaret Johnson, but she was unreachable, confined within the Johnson family villa, completely cut off from the outside world. What had become of Margaret Johnson now? Not a patch of skin on her body was unscathed. Old wounds festered alongside new ones. Whenever Richard Johnson felt frustrated, he took it out on her, beating her relentlessly, just short of killing her. The beatings grew fiercer daily, leaving her incontinent, her speech slurred, and now completely bedridden. When photos of Margaret Johnson surfaced online, many couldn't believe the bruised and battered woman was her. In their minds, she was the elegant, beautiful matriarch. Not long ago, Twitch chats were filled with people affectionately calling her mom, wishing they could be reborn as her child. For the netizens now learning the truth, it felt like they had swallowed shit. All that could be said was, the wicked punish the wicked. On the stage, under the lights, William's face was deathly pale, completely drained of color. He stared in disbelief at Richard Johnson being led away by the police. Why Richard? What do they mean Margaret killed someone? Wasn't Ethan Johnson supposed to be the killer? And what was this about corporate crime? If both Margaret and Richard went to prison, could he still inherit the Johnson family trust? Benjamin Harper shot up from his seat, glaring fiercely at Ethan Johnson. In an instant, he understood. Ethan was behind all of this. He'd had a feeling Ethan would pull something ever since he showed up, but he hadn't expected him to make such a massive move. Furious, Benjamin Harper slammed his glass down, shattering it. He wanted to order someone to teach Ethan Johnson a lesson, but then noticed that Ethan was now flanked by a professional security detail. The two sides faced off, tension crackling in the air. Ethan calmly raised his wine glass, offering Benjamin a slight, almost friendly smile. In the distance, the director, happily munching on cotton candy, filmed the entire scene with his phone. The police weren't finished. After escorting Richard Johnson away, they turned back and stood before Benjamin Harper. Mr. Harper, you need to come with us as well. The Johnson and Harper alliance, the hidden corporate crimes of the Johnson Group, inevitably implicated Harper Enterprises. Dad! Amelia cried out anxiously, gathering her skirts, wanting to rush down from the stage. Benjamin Harper held up a hand towards her. Don't worry about me. I'll just go with them and be back shortly. It's nothing serious. Then he turned to the bewildered Victor Harper beside him. Benjamin's face was cold as he snapped. You deal with the people you brought. Amelia was filled with unease, her heart pounding with anxiety and panic. Cold sweat prickled her back. So much had happened in such a short time, leaving her feeling paralyzed, unable to do anything but stand there numbly. This was all because of Ethan. He had ruined her wedding ceremony. Why couldn't this have happened earlier or later? Why expose the truth right at this moment? Seeing Ethan about to leave, Amelia lost control and screamed, Ethan, why are you being so cruel to me? What did our 3 years together even mean? Ethan's expression remained perfectly calm. His lips barely moved as he replied, Consider me unlucky. Amelia stood on the stage, muttering to herself, Why did you have to ruin my wedding ceremony? Even now, Amelia still wondered if the 3 years she'd spent with Ethan weren't just her own lingering attachment. Perhaps Ethan felt reluctant too. Otherwise, why would he choose today to leak to TMZ and ruin her wedding ceremony? Besides dealing with Richard Johnson, could it be possible he didn't want to see her marry William? Amelia clutched her heavy skirt, looking childishly dejected and pitiful. It was so absurd Victoria almost wanted to laugh. She couldn't hold back and let out a chuckle. Who said we ruined your wedding ceremony? Didn't you get your wish and marry William? The wedding ceremony is over. You became husband and wife witnessed by everyone. What's with the resentment? Are you trying to cause a scene? Don't tell me you don't plan on the civil marriage registration. You just want to leech off William for free? No way, no way. She clicked her tongue twice, full of disdain. With so many people watching, you wouldn't really be that shameless, would you? This time, strange looks turned toward Amelia. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I knew something was off with Amelia today. Turns out she was thinking about her ex all along. Is Amelia crazy? Thinking about William when she was engaged to Ethan, and now thinking about Ethan after marrying William. She must be addicted to cheating, and she has the nerve to ask what those 3 years with Ethan meant. They meant she was cheating on him. Don't tell me she's narcissistic enough to think Ethan came here today because he couldn't let her go and wanted to stop her wedding? Where does she get the audacity? With Benjamin Harper gone, people spoke more boldly. Her ears were ringing. Amelia met Ethan's mocking gaze. She searched his face desperately, but found no tenderness or love. Ethan didn't even seem to hate her. At most, it was disgust, the kind one feels for cockroaches, mosquitoes, or flies. Amelia staggered backward. Her high heel twisted, and she fell clumsily to the ground. The surrounding clamor of ridicule threatened to drown her. Even covering her ears and closing her eyes, she could feel the mockery from all sides. It was like standing naked at the busiest intersection, being pelted with rotten leaves and stinking eggs. If there were a mirror now, Amelia would see how deathly pale her face was, her whole body trembling helplessly, wishing she could find a hole to crawl into. In that instant, she understood everything Ethan had suffered on their engagement day. Back then, she had jilted him publicly, leaving Ethan alone at the engagement party. He had to bear not only the pressure from the Johnson and Harper alliance, but also the surrounding mockery and malicious teasing. She had caused him utter humiliation, made him unable to hold his head high. Now, Ethan was getting his revenge. There's no true empathy in the world. You never know how much it hurts until the needle pricks your own skin. Amelia seemed to have lost her soul, lying limply on the ground, motionless. No matter how William called her or tried to pull her up, she remained unresponsive. She stared blankly as Victoria intimately linked arms with Ethan. Her eyes felt scorched as if by a harsh light. They throbbed with pain, and tears flowed unconsciously. She regretted it. Just then, Victor rushed forward with his men. Victoria apologized to Amelia. After you apologize, come back with me immediately. I warned you yesterday not to be with Ethan. Look at the mess you've made today. Why can't you just behave? If you want a man, I'll find plenty for you when we get back. Victor looked at Victoria with disgust. If he could speak so crudely in front of so many people, one could only imagine the even more repulsive things he did to Victoria behind closed doors. He didn't treat Victoria like a person, but like an object whose value lay in how much money it was worth, how much benefit it could bring him. If forcing someone into prostitution weren't illegal, he would drain Victoria dry, exploit her inside and out. As if ignoring Ethan's icy stare, or perhaps seeing it and dismissing it, Victor continued, "You're at the age to get married. Mr. Smith of the Smith Group has taken an interest in you. Come back with me, meet him, and we'll set a date for the wedding." The Smith Group. If memory served, this Mr. Smith was already 40. This would be his third marriage. He was notoriously promiscuous, with countless mistresses and illegitimate children. Rumor had it his first wife divorced him due to domestic violence. Victoria didn't get angry. Smiling brightly, she asked, "So this is the match you found for me?" Victoria's smile clearly held ill intent. Victor snarled viciously, "What right do you have to be picky? You're the daughter of a mistress. Do you think you're surprised?" Ethan, at some point, had already taken off his suit jacket. He unfastened his cufflinks, rolled up his sleeves, took off his watch, and placed it in Victoria's hand. Then he lunged forward, knocked Victor down with a kick, and slapped him across the face. Despite the seemingly light force, Victor collapsed to the ground like fish on a chopping block, completely at Ethan's mercy. Such a filthy mouth. Have you been eating shit? Victor was furious. "Let go of me." A grim smile played on Ethan's lips. He grabbed Victor's hair, forcing him to face Victoria. "Apologize. Apologize my ass." The word ass had barely left his mouth when Ethan raised his fist and struck again. Victor spat out a mouthful of blood. A tooth had been knocked out. Victor stammered, feeling as though Ethan's punch had hit his trigeminal nerve. His entire face was numb and stiff with pain. Ethan remained expressionless. "Are you going to apologize or not? Think carefully before you speak." Victor glared daggers at him and spat fiercely. "Victoria is just a whore who sleeps around. Just like her mother, she's a—" Ethan nodded and smiled, then began beating him furiously, pinning him to the ground and thrashing him. By the end, Victor went from stunned silence to screaming for help. Despite the large crowd watching, no one came to his rescue. The security detail he'd brought stood like wooden statues, utterly useless. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. It was a one-sided beatdown. Amelia had never seen Ethan so out of control, like a madman. She couldn't believe this was Ethan. The Ethan she remembered was always rational and gentle. Even when angry, he usually resorted only to sarcastic remarks or harsh words. He wouldn't hit someone so openly in front of so many people. At most, he'd handle it covertly, like when he dealt with William before, leaving no trace. Many people present knew Ethan, and this was the first time they had seen him erupt in such fury. He hadn't even been like this when Amelia jilted him. Behind the bodyguards, Olivia Bennett watched anxiously. Although Victor deserved the beating, if Ethan went too far, it would be difficult to clean up the mess. Seeing that it was enough, Victoria walked over and gently touched the back of Ethan's neck. Ethan immediately stopped. "All right, let him go." The ferocity hadn't left Ethan's face, but he released Victor and stood up. Victor thought he was safe, but the next second, a sharp pain shot through the back of his hand. Victoria, having somehow acquired a fork, had plunged it directly into his flesh, making onlookers gasp. Victor let out a piercing scream, writhing on the ground in agony. The fork was covered in blood. "Victoria, you bitch!" I suggest you think carefully before you speak again. Victoria pulled out the fork, aiming its tines at his mouth. Watch your tongue. Victor's tongue trembled with fear. He clamped his lips shut tightly, hardly daring to breathe. He could see from Victoria's eyes that this wasn't just a threat. If she could stab his hand with a fork, she could just as easily pierce his mouth. Beyond fear, Victor Harper's mind was consumed with thoughts of revenge against Ethan and Victoria Harper. He wanted to call the police, to have them both thrown in prison. As if seeing right through his thoughts, Ethan took the fork from Victoria Harper's hand, crouched down, and spoke in a voice only the two of them could hear. The next second, Victor Harper's expression froze, as if time had stopped. Only his eyes changed, shifting from suspicion to shock. He stared at Ethan in disbelief. Satisfied with his reaction, Ethan tossed the fork aside and stood up. He then took a wet wipe from a bellman and began cleaning Victoria Harper's hands, wiping each finger meticulously, as if she'd touched something filthy. Noticing someone trying to leak footage to TMZ, Ethan said sharply, "You've got your videos and photos, but think carefully before you release them. My legal team hasn't been disbanded." Those who had been sneakily planning to start a Twitch stream instantly dropped the idea. Were they kidding? It wasn't Ethan they were afraid of offending, but the Yang group behind him. Let's go. Throughout the entire ordeal, it seemed Ethan only had eyes for Victoria Harper. He was ruthless towards Victor Harper and cold towards outsiders, but only gentle when facing Victoria. He offered his arm slightly, and Victoria Harper linked hers through it. Seeing him about to leave, Amelia Harper staggered to her feet, clutching her skirt tightly to support herself. Ethan, on the stage. Amelia Harper no longer looked lofty and superior. She resembled a small blade of grass battered by a storm on a cliff's edge. Ethan glanced over. "I hadn't planned on coming today. I only came because Victoria wanted to watch the excitement. Your performance today was quite spectacular. I also wish the newlyweds happiness in their wedding ceremony, and may you grow old together." He seemed to be genuinely congratulating her and William, with no lingering resentment, truly wishing for her to be with William forever. The wedding ceremony officially entered its closing stages. Witnessed by the guests at 100 tables, she and William became husband and wife. The wedding dress felt like a mountain weighing her down heavily. She could do nothing but watch helplessly as Ethan led Victoria Harper away by the hand until they disappeared from view. Amelia Harper closed her eyes, her mind filled with that dream. She couldn't shake the feeling that her wedding ceremony shouldn't have been like this. If only that dream had come sooner, perhaps she and Ethan wouldn't have reached this point. William watched the changing expressions on Amelia Harper's face, clenching his fists tightly. The envious glances from the audience had vanished, replaced only by mockery and pity. Pity for what? Pity that Amelia Harper's heart wasn't with him? Or pity that his position as the adopted son of the Johnson family, not yet secure, was now gone? The way Amelia Harper looked at Ethan today was no different from cheating. What goes around comes around. He was now experiencing what Ethan must have felt back then. William didn't have the energy for anger. Mostly, he felt worried. He still didn't know Richard Johnson's condition, but a deep unease settled in him. It was a feeling of insecurity, a desperate need to grasp onto something for reassurance. And the only thing he could grasp now was Amelia Harper. He and Amelia Harper had already completed the wedding ceremony. The wedding had been trending on Twitter since the day before yesterday, and today it had reached the top spot. Today, witnessed by everyone, they had completed the ceremony and become husband and wife. But one thing was still missing. They hadn't completed the civil marriage registration. Benjamin Harper had considered everything thoroughly. He had made William sign a prenuptial agreement beforehand, planning for the wedding ceremony first, followed by the civil marriage registration. The original plan was to register this afternoon. But now, with so much happening with the Johnson family, the marriage alliance was for future cooperation. If the Johnson family could no longer bring benefits to Harper Enterprises, would Benjamin Harper still acknowledge him as the Harper family's son-in-law? Without the marriage certificate, there was no guarantee, especially after hearing what Victoria Harper had said. A marriage without civil registration was basically getting screwed over for free. Just the thought of Amelia Harper still thinking about getting back with Ethan made him feel like he was glowing green with cuckoldry, a nauseating, heart-pounding green. Seeking advantages and avoiding harm is human nature. William couldn't accept his wife cheating, but what right did he have to judge? Sophia had just given birth to his child today. Seeing Amelia Harper about to stumble again, William quickly steadied her. "Wife, let me take you back to the room to rest first." William calling her wife was also a reminder for her not to forget her status and to maintain her image. Although Benjamin Harper and Richard Johnson had left, they were still on stage. The necessary procedures couldn't be skipped. At the very least, they had to step up and maintain order. That word, wife, seemed directed at someone else. Amelia Harper felt nothing. Only that William's hand gripping hers felt like tightening shackles, pulling her down off the stage with a hint of brute force. Before leaving the stage area, William quickly instructed the MC and other staff members to maintain order at the venue. The central figures of the drama had all left, and the gossip fodder, melon, had mostly been consumed. The remaining guests ate, drank, gathered in groups to continue gossiping, with laughter occasionally breaking out. Perhaps they weren't laughing at Amelia Harper and William, but the sound grated on both their ears. Even after reaching the backstage area, they felt the mocking laughter hadn't stopped. Walking out of the Rosewood Grand Hotel, Victoria Harper took out some chewing gum again, strawberry-flavored this time. She tore open the wrapper and fed it directly into Ethan's mouth. Olivia Bennett, who had followed them out, leaned in curiously. "What are you guys eating? I want some too. Here, open up." Olivia Bennett's mouth moved faster than her brain. Hearing Victoria Harper tell her to open up, she actually opened her mouth wide, obediently waiting for Victoria to feed her. Victoria Harper popped 2 pieces of gum into her mouth. "Why didn't you stay inside and eat properly? What are you doing following us out? Aren't you afraid your parents will see and scold you?" "None of your business," Olivia Bennett mumbled while chewing. "That food looks so greasy, I get fat eating it. I've already exceeded my calorie limit for today." How could she not exceed it after eating 8 pieces of wedding cake? Her manager would have a fit if they saw. Olivia Bennett looked curiously at Ethan. "What did you say to Victor Harper just now?" His face looked totally frozen with fear. Victoria Harper was curious too. Knowing Victor Harper, he was vengeful and wouldn't let things go easily. She didn't know what Ethan could have said to make him afraid to act rashly. "I told him if he dared to call the police and escalate things, I'd expose the fact that he messes around with men on the side." Victor Harper messes around with men? Seriously? Olivia Bennett looked like she'd swallowed a fly, her expression utterly disgusted. Sure enough, the more outrageous something sounded, the more likely it was to be true. Ethan chuckled. "Of course it's true. Did you think I was bluffing? But doesn't he have a wife?" "Yeah, having a wife and still messing around with men on the side just makes it even more disgusting." Victor Harper only got married at 35. His wife's family was comparable to the Harper family, so he only dared to carry on his affairs secretly behind their backs. Ethan knew about this secret because, in his past life, Victor Harper had died on his 40th birthday, and all these dirty secrets were exposed after his death. Olivia Bennett sighed. "This circle is really messy." "Victoria Harper, did you know your brother was messing around with men?" Ethan met Victoria Harper's meaningful gaze, and his heart skipped a beat. He suspected even Victoria didn't know about this. How was he supposed to explain how he knew? Ethan had more and more little secrets, and Victoria Harper loved this side of him. People are naturally curious about mystery, and Ethan was like a hidden treasure she was determined to uncover, one secret at a time. In response to Olivia Bennett's question, Victoria smiled and said, "Of course I knew. I'm the one who told Ethan, which is why we dared to go ahead with it." "Oh, I see." Olivia was easily convinced and didn't question it further. Patting her chest in relief, she said, "You two scared me to death just now. I was so afraid Victor Harper was going to call the cops on you." The 3 of them stood by the roadside just as the driver pulled up. Ethan said, "We'll head off first. You should go back to Rosewood Grand Hotel." Being a celebrity, Olivia was easily recognized in public, so it made sense to head back and stay low profile. She had planned to return to the hotel to rest anyway. Watching Victoria and Ethan get into the same car, she waved goodbye, only realizing something odd after the car had driven off. Why were they getting into the same car? Were they headed in the same direction? Inside the car, Ethan stared straight ahead while Victoria leaned against the door. "Ethan," she said, "how many secrets are you still hiding from me?" His throat tightened. He wasn't ready to come clean just yet. Sensing his tension, Victoria chuckled softly. "You don't have to tell me if you're not ready. Everyone has their secrets." He wasn't willing to reveal his own, but when it came to someone else's secrets, he had no problem sharing. William's got a woman on the side, even has a kid with her. Today isn't just his wedding day. It's also the day he became a dad. Victoria hadn't expected that, but thinking about it, it didn't surprise her either. William pulling something like that was totally in character. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Double blessings, huh? I wonder how Amelia will feel when she finds out. She's not even had the wedding night yet, and already got handed a stepchild. You make your bed, you lie in it." Amelia would eventually discover just how dirty this mess was. And once she found out William had a child out of wedlock, she'd probably regret even more that she ever let go of Ethan. All misfortune is relative. Amelia's fragile emotional balance was already tilting, and it wouldn't be long before it completely collapsed. This wedding tied William and Amelia tightly together. Without the Johnson family's support, William was like a man dangling over the edge of a cliff, desperately clinging to his last hope. William had always been driven by self-interest. He didn't just want money. He craved status, power, influence. Now that the Johnsons were no longer a solid pillar, Harper Enterprises was the only ladder he could still climb. To hold on to the Harper son-in-law title, imagine what a selfish man like him would do. He'd use every trick in the book to keep Amelia tied to him, from the ceremony to the marriage license, and eventually to having kids. Like a parasite clinging to her, draining her until there was nothing left, hoping to take her place entirely. But lies don't stay buried forever. Ethan didn't have to lift a finger. All he needed to do was sit back and watch karma do its work. The day when all these backstabbers turn on each other would come soon enough. The pieces were in place. All that was left was to set the board. Meanwhile, back at Rosewood Grand Hotel, Amelia had already changed out of her wedding dress. She wanted to go find out more about Benjamin Harper, but William stopped her. "Amelia, there's been enough chaos today. We can't just abandon all the guests. And Uncle Hayes said he'll be fine. You should trust him. Let's just finish the ceremony." Amelia asked, "Aren't you worried about the Johnson family?" William sighed. "Of course I'm worried, but I don't know what to do. What good is worrying?" What he didn't say was that his mind was fully focused on the Johnson family trust. If Richard Johnson went to jail, Harper Tower would need someone to run it. Why not him? "Come on, let's go do the toasts." Amelia bit her lip hard, grounding herself in the sting of pain. William was right. She couldn't afford to act impulsively anymore. For now, the priority was to keep the guests settled. Her eyes were still red. She touched up her makeup and removed the heavy headpiece. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, she looked pale and drained, nothing like a bride on her wedding day. Her eyes were swollen, and the smile she forced was worse than crying. This was the path she'd chosen. No matter how hard it was, she had to walk it to the end. The audience had already had their fill of the spectacle. All she could do now was stop the Joe from going on any longer. She looked toward the doors, fear creeping in. Walking out there meant facing all those mocking eyes, eyes that laughed at her desperation, her self-delusion. In all her life, she'd never felt so humiliated, like a circus act for everyone to point at and sneer. William took her hand, offering a hollow sense of reassurance. "Come on, I'm right here with you." There were 100 tables, and toasting everyone took time. Even if it was only red wine, after over 100 glasses, the buzz was inevitable. While Amelia was still sober enough, William pushed the next step, getting the marriage certificate. As soon as he brought it up, her expression faltered. She didn't want to go through with it. Not because she was backing out, but because deep down, she still wanted a way out. But the moment Victoria Harper made that scene earlier, all her escape routes had been blocked. If she still had any pride left, she couldn't refuse. "Babe," William said, taking both her hands. "We agreed from the start to do the ceremony and get the certificate on the same day. City Hall is right next door. No lines. It'll be quick. Our wedding's already trending on Twitter. Everyone's watching. If you back out now, people will really think you still have feelings for Ethan." She did still have feelings for Ethan, but she couldn't admit it. William pressed on. "Ethan stirred up all this trouble on purpose. He even called the Metropolitan Police Department to take Benjamin Harper away. If any more rumors about you two spread now, where does that leave Benjamin's reputation? What we need to do now is shut down the gossip with action." He paused for effect, then said in a voice thick with emotion, "Honestly, I'm feeling really insecure right now. I keep thinking, if the Johnson family trust really goes down and I lose my value, would you still want me?" William laughed bitterly. "I don't come from a good background. The Johnson family trust only let me in because you made the introductions. I'm scared that once they fall, people will say I'm not good enough for you. I'm scared to look down on me. I'm scared Benjamin Harper will kick me out." The unspoken message. Now that the Johnsons are in trouble, are you really going to abandon me? William knew exactly how to manipulate her. First appealing to logic, then guilt-tripping her with emotion. Women are naturally emotional, especially when they're already overwhelmed. A few sweet words, a touch of vulnerability, a well-placed guilt trip. That's all it took to steer her. Sure enough, Amelia said, "How could I ever look down on you?" William seized the moment. "Then let's go get the certificate." He had everything ready, household registration booklet in hand. City Hall was so close, they didn't even need a car. In the photo inside the little red booklet, William wore a beaming smile. Amelia barely managed a stiff half-smile, one side of her mouth twitching upward. To anyone who didn't know better, It looked like she'd been forced into it. Amelia clutched the marriage certificate, glancing at it only briefly before closing it. What had their certificate looked like in that dream? Was Ethan happy? Let's go back. Amelia tried calling Benjamin Harper, but there was no answer. Unsure of his situation, she suppressed her anxiety and followed William back to the hotel. More than half the guests had chosen to stay. Having already come, it wasn't just about the meal anymore. It was primarily about connections and resources. After all, opportunities to gather so many wealthy individuals in one place were rare. Benjamin Harper had spent a fortune on this wedding, intending to solidify connections and discuss business partnerships, like the Westbrook District project. That deal was too big to handle alone. He needed to pull strings, secure partners, raise capital. And what was the result? Before any business could be discussed, he was taken away by the police. The entire wedding banquet was a bust. His being taken in for investigation would even make potential partners reconsider. Throughout the afternoon, Amelia took over Benjamin Harper's duties, toasting guests, offering thanks and apologies. She forced herself to drink even when she couldn't stomach it, excusing herself to the powder room to vomit when she reached her limit, only to return and continue. This kind of social obligation was a necessary skill among the wealthy. Amelia saved some of the most important clients for last, stalling, hoping Benjamin Harper would return to wrap things up. She called and texted him constantly until, finally, at 8 p.m., Benjamin Harper arrived by car. Seeing Amelia's ghastly pale face, the father felt a pang of distress. He patted her shoulder comfortingly, then told William, who was standing nearby, to take her home to rest. Amelia's stomach ached from vomiting. Once in the car, she retched up stomach acid. Her stomach was empty, no food left, only bitter, corrosive bile that burned her throat and filled her mouth with bitterness. Each dry heave felt like a fist clenching her stomach and squeezing it upwards. She gasped for breath, drenched in cold sweat. In the dim light of the car, her face was ashen. Utterly drained from vomiting, her pained gasps were loud. Tears mixed with the cold sweat on her face. William took a wet wipe to clean her face, but after a couple of dabs, she flinched away, leaving William holding the wipe awkwardly. Let's go to the Mayo Clinic. I'm fine. I just need to go home and sleep. Amelia had last seen her mother at the Mayo Clinic, and the memory made her deeply resistant to going there. Since childhood, Amelia had a weak immune system, prone to colds and fevers. If medication could handle it, she'd take it at home, sometimes even having a doctor make a house call. During her 3 years with Ethan, she'd hardly been sick. Even that time of the month was rarely painful. Ethan knew how to take care of her, making her nutrition meal preps that improved her complexion steadily. But shortly after separating from him, she started breaking out, getting mouth sores, stomach problems. All sorts of minor ailments plagued her. Her complexion was poor now, too. She glanced briefly at the rearview mirror, then lowered her eyes. Amelia insisted on going home, so William didn't argue. When they arrived, he reached out to help her out of the car. Amelia stumbled unsteadily, allowing William to support her, but refusing to let him carry her. He helped her lie down on the sofa. It was quite late, and the housemaids were asleep. William settled Amelia down. Rest here for a bit. I'll go make you a sports drink. He had no idea how to make a real sports drink. He just mixed some ginger powder and honey from the fridge with hot water. Amelia hated anything with ginger. She took one sip and nearly gagged. If Ethan were here, his hangover remedy would be fruit-flavored, not unpleasant at all. Drinking it would soothe her stomach, leaving no discomfort. Ginger tea with honey could indeed help with hangovers, sometimes inducing vomiting, but Amelia had already emptied her stomach. Drinking this now would only irritate it further. William had clearly never made a hangover remedy before. He'd added far too much ginger powder, making it overwhelmingly pungent. He coaxed Amelia, "Drink this before you sleep, or you'll have a headache tomorrow. You already had a sip, there's not much left." Amelia held her breath and finished the remaining half bowl. Immediately after swallowing, her stomach churned uncomfortably. William helped Amelia into the bedroom and laid her on the bed. How do you make a woman who doesn't like you compliant? Get her pregnant. Pregnant women are sensitive and vulnerable, easier to tie down, easier to brainwash into becoming a housewife. William gazed at Amelia, lying on the bed, eyes closed, brow furrowed, and reached for the collar of her dress. He and Amelia were married now, legally registered after receiving their civil marriage registration. They were husband and wife. Physical intimacy was just fulfilling marital duties, perfectly justifiable. Amelia had worn a Cheongsam-style evening gown that afternoon, with pearl buttons fastened up to the collar. William undid the top buttons. Noticing the necklace around her neck, he removed it as if compelled. A simple chain held a single ring. Clearly, this wasn't just any ring. William examined it closely and saw the inscription on the inner band, ZY and XW. Ethan and Amelia, married to him, yet wearing the promise ring Ethan gave her around her neck. William clenched the ring tightly, a violent rage surging through him. His feelings for Amelia were no longer just resentment. They had twisted into hatred and disgust. He wanted to strangle her. Just then, Amelia's eyes snapped open. She leaned over the edge of the bed and retched, vomiting all the ginger tea. The concoction had severely irritated her stomach. She curled up on the bed, clutching her abdomen tightly in pain. Startled, William suppressed his fury and stood beside her, gently patting her back. "Your clothes are dirty. Let me help you change." Amelia instinctively raised a hand to cover her chest, guarding against him. "No, go wake Aunt Linda. Ask her to help me change." William's face darkened. He gritted his teeth. "Amelia, have you forgotten our relationship? We just got married today, completed the civil marriage registration. You're my wife. Today is our wedding night. How can you refuse me like this?" In the past, Amelia had rejected his advances with excuses. It wasn't appropriate. She wasn't used to it. She was conservative and wanted to wait until after marriage. How ridiculous. If she were truly conservative, she wouldn't have run away from a wedding before. Amelia lived with Ethan for a year. Day in, day out, a man and a woman alone together. And now she was playing innocent with him? Did she really take him for a simp? "I don't feel well today. I don't want to talk about this." Amelia dismissed William with that single sentence. She felt weak, but forced herself to stay alert to hold on. Fortunately, William didn't press her further. After standing there for a moment, he went to call the housemaid. Aunt Linda arrived quickly. She gave Amelia a sponge bath, helped her change into pajamas, prepared a proper rehydration drink, helped her drink it, and gave her 2 peppermint oil capsules. After about an hour of tending to her, Amelia could finally rest peacefully. When William returned to the room, Amelia was fast asleep, completely oblivious. Her cheeks were no longer deathly pale, but had a hint of pink. William took out his phone. He held Amelia's hand and took several pictures, then angled the phone to capture a few intimate-looking shots of her face. He composed a tweet, arranging the marriage certificate and the photos he'd just taken into a 9-photo grid. He added the caption, "Happy wedding night. Persistence pays off. Finally married her." After posting the tweet, William threw the ring he was holding down the drain. Amelia dreamed again. The same familiar dream, the same familiar people. Her marriage with Ethan hadn't been quietly happy. Most of the time, Ethan was the one making allowances for her. Amelia had a bad temper and was easily provoked. Their friends and family looked down on Ethan, especially William. Surrounded by this, she couldn't help but be influenced. She constantly nitpicked, and after they married, Ethan's love for her faded. He was still good to her, but his coolness and perfunctory attitude were palpable. After they adopted a child, Ethan split his energy in 2. Half for her, half for the boy. He invested a lot of time in their adopted son, trying earnestly to raise him well. But the child didn't appreciate his efforts, even growing to resent Ethan's strict parenting style, causing a fair amount of trouble during his teenage years. Ethan never gave up on him, patiently correcting his issues and managing to get him back on the right track. After turning 50, Ethan suddenly lost a lot of weight and seemed to lose his spirit. Their adopted son had long since moved out, leaving just her and Ethan in the house, which often felt quite empty. Amelia loved spicy food. Eating alone wasn't fun enough, so she'd force Ethan to join her. Hot pot, buffalo wings, spicy ramen. Ethan's face, flushed red from the spice, made him seem more alive, and the house felt less deserted then. In the dream, Ethan had argued with her about something unknown and was now sitting on the sofa, his face cold. Ethan was an exceptionally gentle person. Even when angry, he wouldn't yell or cause a scene. He'd just sit quietly, lost in thought, and then eventually offer an olive branch. "I don't feel well right now. I don't want to argue. Can you just let me cool down?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he rushed into the powder room, and the sound of vomiting followed. "Amelia, my stomach hurts." She kept her face cold. "Yeah, right. Keep pretending." They had been together for so long, almost always eating together. She never knew he had stomach issues. They'd lived together for 30 years. Their diets were similar. It made no sense that her health kept improving while he developed more and more problems. In Amelia's mind, if Ethan could take such good care of her, he could surely take care of himself. If she wasn't sick, Ethan wouldn't get sick either. But in the end, Ethan died at 55. He was still so young. His hair hadn't even turned gray. Amelia woke groggily. Even after the sports, drink, and medicine, the hangover hit hard the next day. Her head felt like it was about to split open. She patted her temples, then reached for the ring she wore around her neck. Her fingers searched for a long moment, finding only empty skin. She jolted, fully awake, hands flying to her neck, lifting her long hair. She searched the bed, the floor. The ring was gone. She scrambled out of bed frantically, bare feet hitting the cold floor. As she opened the door, she came face to face with William. Seeing her panic, William asked, "Honey, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare?" Amelia grabbed his hand. "William, did you see the ring I wear around my neck?" It was the first time William had seen Amelia so distraught. It was just a ring, wasn't it? It didn't even have a diamond, yet she treasured it so much. Now that it was gone, she looked like she'd lost a part of herself. William feigned ignorance, putting on a blank expression. "What ring? Our wedding ring." "No." Amelia gestured helplessly at her neck. "A promise ring I wore on a chain, with letters engraved on it. I was wearing it all day yesterday. I didn't see it. Is it that important to you?" Amelia met William's questioning gaze. She was silent for a moment, then lowered her eyes, struggling to speak. "Very important. I'll buy you a new one." Amelia shook her head. It wouldn't be the same one. Unwilling to give up, she questioned the housemaid who had helped her change and wash up the night before, but learned nothing about the ring. She drunk too much yesterday, ending up completely out of it, with no idea when the ring had disappeared. Such a small thing. Losing it felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. Amelia tried hard to remember. She asked the housemaid to keep an eye out for it, searched the car thoroughly, and even called the hotel manager. She spent the entire morning searching, skipping breakfast entirely, until her blood sugar plummeted and she nearly fainted. It wasn't just any ring. Ethan had made it by hand, engraving the letters himself. It was the ring that held all his sincerity, the one he'd meant to propose with. In her dream, Amelia and Ethan had always worn that ring, and only when Ethan died did it finally leave her. Why couldn't she hold on to it? Richard Johnson was in custody. Margaret Johnson was still at the Mayo Clinic. 19 years ago, Margaret Johnson had killed her daughter, and Richard Johnson had falsified testimony and concealed evidence. Both assumed that after so long, the matter was closed and would never surface again. Who knew the truth would eventually come out? Now, the evidence was exposed. With both witness testimony and physical evidence, Margaret Johnson would spend the rest of her life in the Springfield Mental Health Center. As for Richard Johnson, although he hadn't committed the murder, he couldn't escape culpability. Added to that were his recent actions against Margaret Johnson: assault, unlawful confinement, restraint, amounting to severe abuse charges. Beyond that, Ethan had also uncovered evidence of corporate crimes within the Johnson Group: tax evasion, bribery, money laundering, illegal financing, and more. Ethan had once been a manager at Johnson Group. He had carefully extricated himself completely before daring to deliver this killing blow. Such a massive development shot straight to the top of Twitter trends, causing an uproar both within and outside their industry. Netizens wryly commented that Ethan was prioritizing justice over family ties. Johnson Group stock plummeted. Once the charges were solidified, the Johnson family faced asset freezes, enormous fines, and a cascade of other problems. Businesses under the Johnson umbrella faced boycotts, and competitors began kicking them while they were down. The empire they had painstakingly built evaporated by $100 million seemingly overnight. Benjamin Harper was at his wit's end. He'd learned the Johnson family's current situation from the Metropolitan Police Department. It wasn't a lucrative opportunity, but a quagmire. Step in, and you'd struggle to get out. Decades of experience told him Richard Johnson was a lost cause this time. Not only was Johnson beyond saving, but he'd also dragged Harper into a mess. They had signed a contract shortly before this blew up, and now, because of that piece of paper, the police had Harper on their radar. Furthermore, steel produced by Johnson Materials was found to be substandard. During their previous collaboration, Harper had used Johnson Materials in constructing his buildings. He'd wondered why the price was so low, assuming Richard Johnson was giving him a favorable deal. Turns out, Johnson had been undercutting him, mixing substandard materials into the supply. Steel is crucial for structural stability. Everyone knows a skyscraper is only as strong as its foundation. Now, with this massive scandal breaking, who would dare buy his properties? Benjamin Harper felt like strangling Richard Johnson. Just thinking about the cascading problems gave him a headache. He'd close his eyes, open them, and another dreadful day would begin. In less than a week, he was mentally and physically exhausted, looking as if he'd aged 10 years. He was running himself ragged, wanting to fix things but lacking the energy. He felt constantly on edge, irritable, as the pile of documents on his desk grew higher. He hadn't pulled an all-nighter at the office in many, many years.